on Foyt. Kings lead the season series, 2 victories, no losses. In Los Angeles, November 9th, they won 3-2. In Buffalo 2 weeks ago, February 24th, they won 4-2. Gilbert Perreault leads the club in scoring, 68 points, 24 goals, and 44 assists. Dave Andrechuk, who will not play tonight, is second. He has 60 points, and Phil Housley, a defenseman and forward on occasion, 56 points, is third on the club. The Kings paced by Marcel Dion, 103 points. Bernie Nichols, 88 points. Dave Taylor with 80, rounding out the top 3. Kings defend to our right, Sabres to our left, and here with the first period, once again, Bob Miller.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. And off the draw, the Kings with it as Gary Galley sends it down to Dion, right wing into the Sabres zone, but it's broken up there and cleared back out to center. Jay Wells is back with Galley on defense. Galley into the Kings zone, passes up to center ice, deflected back to the red line, taken by Taylor, over to McClellan. Here's Mack, bumped at center, gets it to Galley. Galley down the right side, taken away by Phil Housley. Can't clear it, held in by McClellan. McClellan bumped by Perreault. Max reaches out and gets it over to Taylor. Up the middle to Dion. He shoots just wide to the left side. Dion right in the slot, and his shot went wide, and the Sabres clear it back down into the Kings zone. Game just underway here at the Fabulous Forum. Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon. Kings and the Buffalo Sabres. Pass up to center to Dion. Dion rolls it into the Sabre zone, taken away by Larry Playfair. Kings change on the fly. Out defensively, Hardy and Lapointe. Puck is taken by Paul Sear. Left wing, he shoots. Blocked in front. Hit one of the Kings, perhaps Lapointe. Taken by the Kings. Pass on the right wing to Bernie Nichols, but just out of his reach. Slides all the way down the Sabre zone. Barrasso puts it up on the boards, taken away by Nichols. Right wing corner. He's bumped there, and a hand pass called against the Kings. We have played 1 minute of the first period, and no score in the game.
Bob, while he's out there, will mention about Jim Fox, who was really leveled in that third period in Vancouver by Garth Butcher from behind, had to be helped off the ice. He is sore, is a little bit sore. The injury was mainly to the upper part of his back, but he looked pretty good in warm-ups and apparently is okay for the game tonight.
Face-off will be outside the Buffalo Sabre blue line. The Kings have Bernie Nichols at center. Fox is on the right wing. Ruskowski on the left. Hardy and Lapointe back. Game just underway. Veteran Jim Schoenfeld, who had retired earlier and was coaching at Rochester, came out of retirement. He's on the ice for the Sabres now. He passes ahead to Gilles Hamel. Hamel is bumped just inside the King line by Hardy. Craig Ramsey trying to hold it in. Nichols cleared it. Schoenfeld from center for Buffalo fires it back behind the King net. Taken by Rick Lapointe. He plays it around the boards. Left point. Schoenfeld shoots again. Save made by Janasek. And the rebound behind him, and he poked it wide to the left goal post. Puck taken by the Kings. Right wing side. Here's Fox. He's bumped by Gilles Hamel. Now the puck left point. Schoenfeld again. Shoot stick save by Janasek. Puck comes over to Craig Ramsey in the King zone to Gilles Hamel. Left wing circle. His pass broken up by Nichols, but held in again by the Sabres. Pass in by Mal Davis. In behind the net goes Craig Ramsey. He's bumped there. Rick Lapointe with it. Comes around the left side. Gives it to Ruskowski. He clears it off the skate of Fox, and it deflects out to center ice. No score first period. Sabres Jim Schoenfeld shoots it back in. Schoenfeld had an awful game 2 weeks ago tonight at Buffalo, stumbling all over the place, and tonight he's had a couple of good shots from the point already. Puck is at center ice, taken by Gilles Perreault, one of the great skaters and stick handlers in the game. He sends it down into the Kings zone, but nobody there. It's going to be icing as the Kings get back to touch it. Icing called against the Buffalo Sabres. 17:48 to go in the first period. There's no score in the game. This is an official copyrighted broadcast of California sports and the Los Angeles Kings, and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any reproduction, rebroadcast, or other use of the accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Kings is prohibited.
Gilbert Perreault is in his 15th season, all-time Sabre goal, assist, and point leader. 9 times he has led the Sabres in scoring. He'll be our guest after the first period.
Kings with it. Engblom shooting just wide. Rebound behind the net. Phil Sykes tried to roll it out in front to Bob Miller. He couldn't get it. Taken away by the Sabres. Housley up ahead to Lindy Ruff. Ruff, who's been bothered by a bad shoulder, passes back into his own zone. Sabres moving left to right. No score first period. Here's Mike Ramsey. Clears it up to center, all the way down to the Kings zone, and hopped over the stick of Engblom. Now Bryan back in to get it. He plays it around the boards, but didn't clear it. Foligno holds it in. He's checked there by Sykes. Sykes gets knocked down, gets it up to center ice, but off the stick of Bob Miller. Chased down into the Sabre zone, and a two-hander clears it out to center by Housley. Taken away by the Kings. Pass by Craig Redmond. Broken up. Sabres with it. Foligno down the middle. Offside. Sabres at the King blue line, and Foligno upset with a call, but he was led across the line on the right side by Gilles Perreault. 17:09 to go in the first period. No score in the game. Kings hockey being brought to you by Toyota, who reminds you to buckle up and use child safety seats. It's a good feeling. And by Mark C. Bloom. You can't choose the right tire if you don't have a choice. That's Mark C. Bloom. Doug Smith out at center for the Kings now. He's got Shutt on the left side and Hawkinson on the right. Puck is at center ice. Defensively, Galley and Wells out for the Kings. Puck taken by John Tucker. His pass on the left side broken up by Galley. Taken by Hawkinson at center ice. He has it roll off his stick. Sabres with it again. Broken up by Shutt. Now Shutt at center. Shutt flips it into the Sabre zone. Into the right side corner. It comes behind the net. Tom Barrasso, the goaltender, plays it up to Paul Sear on the right wing. Sear gives it away at center ice to Hawkinson. Hawk flips it up and into the team bench of the Buffalo Sabres with 16:38 to go in the first period, and we have no score.
Well, the Kings yet to test Tom Barrasso with a shot on goal. They've had a couple of shots, but they've missed the target. We played 3.5 minutes. And one of the keys tonight, I think, for the Kings against the Sabres, who are the best defensive team in the league, when they get a good scoring chance, they have to bear down and take advantage, because the Sabres aren't going to give up a lot of good scoring chances, period.
Now the puck driven up over the glass, up into the crowd, and we will have a face-off out at center ice right in front of the Sabre bench again.
Bob, you really have to be impressed with Barrasso. He's been very impressive in the games against the Kings the last couple of years. Big kid, moves well, handles the puck well, plays with a lot of poise, and he's aggressive out there, and he's just 19.
Now the puck in the Kings zone and driven to the right point to Fenves. He holds it in. He shoots and a save. It came right through a screen, and Janusek made the save. Bats it down, and Shutt clears it to center. Taken by Dave Fenves again for the Sabres. He drives it in. Into the Kings zone. Galley chases it down. He's bumped in deep by Brent Peterson. Drops it off now to the King, Steve Shutt. He clears it up to center. Chased down by Hawkinson. Here's the Hawk down the left side. Pulled down by Schoenfeld. No penalty. Puck taken behind the net by Dave Fenves. Fenves for the Sabres. Clears it up to center ice, and over to get it is Mark Hardy. Hardy back in the Kings zone. Plays it up to Dion. Dion at center. Plays it ahead to Hawkinson. Hawkinson drives it into the Sabre zone. Puck comes behind the net. Taken there by Phil Housley. Housley out of St. Paul, Minnesota. Clears it up to the blue line to Mike Foligno. Here's Foligno, tied for second in goal scoring with 26. He shoots from the blue line, and a save by Janusek. And he knocked it down and covers it up. With 15:34 to go in the first period, the Sabres 4 shots to none for the Kings. Going back to your comment about Tom Barrasso, the only thing that we felt 2 weeks ago tonight, Nick, was that he handled the puck too much, and instead of starting plays, he cleared the puck out of his own zone, but in doing so, cleared it away from his own defenseman and gave it away to the Kings out at center ice.
That's right. He did it a couple of times when they were killing a penalty, which of course is a great asset to have if you're a goaltender, the ability to clear the puck yourself, but he did it a couple of times at even strength when he really didn't have to.
Now behind the King net, here is Perreault. Centers it, intercepted by McClellan. His pass went right back in front of the King net, but it bounced over to Dion. Dion cleared it up to center. Perreault with it again. Boy, the Sabres, Nick, have really fired away at Janusek. They've had some good opportunities, and he's made a couple of saves, I think, when he just saw the puck at the last second. Now it comes to Lindy Ruff down the right wing. He shoots, and a save by Janusek. It's deflected into the corner. Puck is in the right wing side. King zone. Now it bounces behind the net. Lindy Ruff with it again. He's bumped again. Puck taken by Perreault. Up the middle. Shot by Foligno. Deflected wide. Picked up by Lindy Ruff. He shoots. Stick save by Janusek. Puck comes left point. Mike Ramsey. His shot blocked. Kings with it. Up the center to McClellan. Mack shovels it over. 2-on-1. Hardy to Dion. Right wing. Dion. His pass broken up. He went in deep, and then the pass got broken up. He had Hardy. Now in front. Dion shoots. He scores! The 2-on-1, but Dion stayed after it. On the 2-on-1, he tried to pass over to the left side, and the pass was broken up. Then he got the puck again and walked around the left goal post and scores. And the Kings lead 1-0.
Goal of the season, number 16, Marcel Dion. Assist to number 18, Dave Taylor. And number 27, Brian McClellan. Time of the goal, 5:24.
So the Kings leading 1-0. Now in front of the King net. A shot and a stick save by Janusek. Bob Mongrain with a shot. Puck is back behind the King net. Taken there by Craig Redmond. Plays it up the middle of the blue line. And Ruskowski ahead on the right wing to Nichols. Nichols, Sabre zone. Nichols against Playfair. Shooting, and it's wide to the right side. Rebound out toward the left point. Held in by Engblom. Engblom tried to give it to Fox. Broken up. Sabres come back. Up to center. Taken away by Engblom. Engblom with the King line. Plays it to Redmond. Redmond up on the right side. Kings with it. it. Fox shoots it down the left side into the Sabres zone. Puck is in the left wing corner. Ruskowski centers it up the middle, taken by Engblom and hopped over his stick. Kings have to get back. Here's a 2-on-2 down the right wing. Mal Davis for the Sabres. He shoots wide to the right side. Rebound picked up by Jim Fox. Fox up the center. Passes on the left wing out of the reach of Ruskowski. Kings will go for a line change. Going to get an icing call against the Kings. We'll be back in 30 seconds. It's 1-0 Kings. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Goal at 5:24. Dion is 38. That was the first shot on goal in the period for the Kings. Taylor and McClellan with the assists.
Now the Sabres left point. Mike Ramsey shoots. Blocked. J.P. Kelly with it for the Kings. Up the center. Kelly 2-on-2 with Sucks. Kelly drives it into the Sabres zone. It bounces behind the net. And Barrasso bats it out of midair to the left point. To Wells. His shot blocked. And back on the Sabres. John Tucker down the right wing. Tucker trying to get by Galley. Galley checks him. Centering pass broken up by Jay Wells. Wells gets it back to Galley. Galley up to Kelly. And he tips it out to center. Kings ahead 1-0 even though they've been outshot 6-1. Now at center ice, Bob Miller takes it from Housley. Miller down the right side. Miller passes left side. Jay Wells shoots. Saved by Barrasso. Glove save and he hangs on. 12:55 to go in the first period. Kings ahead 1-0. And Dion, Nick, after the pass by him was broken up, he just stayed after the puck, picked it up off the boards, walked right back out in front and scored. Good play by Marcel.
Good defensive play by Mike Ramsey to break up the 2-on-1 break. The all-star defenseman for the Buffalo Sabres, but good persistence by the line. They did the work along the boards behind the net. Dion walked right in front and from point blank beat Barrasso with a short backhander.
Puck is back behind the Sabre net. Schoenfeld checked there. Puck goes up in the air. Now it comes down and is shoveled over to Craig Ramsey. He's checked by Schutt. Now by Hawkinson, who knocked him flat on the ice. Puck is picked up out in front. Schutt, and it hit the side of the net. Schutt with it. Over to LaPointe. His shot blocked. Sabres come back. Kings have to get back now. It's a 3-on-3. Pass up the center to Brent Peterson, and he drives it down into the Kings zone.
Well, great work by Anders Hawkinson. After he threw the check, he got a shot.
Kings with it again. Smith, nice pass to Schutt down the middle, and he just had it roll off his stick. What a pass by Smith, and Schutt couldn't control it. Now Dave Fenves for the Sabres down the right wing. Goes in, Dave gets knocked down, centers it. Broken up right in the slot. Tipped over on the left wing to Steve Schutt. Kings ahead 1-0. Schutt had it tipped off his stick. It's taken by Anders Hawkinson of the Kings. Hawkinson across the red line, shoots it down into the Sabres zone. What a nice pass by Smitty behind the back to Schutt, coming right down the slot. But unfortunately, the puck rolled away from him, and he couldn't catch up with it again. 11:51 left to go in the first period. Bob Miller with Nick Nixon. Kings ahead of the Sabres 1-0. Kings with a Taylor ahead to Dion, right wing, Sabres zone, and an offside. With 11:46 to go in the first period. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network. Face-off out at center ice, and the puck is taken by the Kings and drawn back into their own zone. Back to get it is Brian Engblom. Engblom plays it up to center, and it went behind McClellan. Taken away by Mike Ramsey. Ramsey for the Sabres, trying to give it to Foligno. He tips it down in the Kings zone. No icing. Engblom looks behind him now, chases it in. He's checked by Foligno, but coming over to take it for the Kings is Redmond. He gave it away to Perreault. Perreault's pass up the middle to Housley. Housley passes at the left point to Mike Ramsey. Down in the corner, left wing side to Lindy Ruff. Sabres in the King zone. Now Perreault sends it behind the net, taken away by the King goalie Bob Janicek. He waits, passes over to McClellan on the left wing. Mack knocks it down, clears it out to center. Kings ahead 1-0. 11:05 to go in the first period. Here are the Fabulous Forum. Kings will be home here again Wednesday night against the Hartford Whalers. And now we have a whistle as the Sabres came across the King line. Foligno went for it, and an offside call.
Well, ever since that Dion goal, goal at the 5:24 mark. The Kings have put some pretty good pressure on goaltender Tom Barrasso the first 5 minutes, all Buffalo, as they pelted Bob Janusek with 5 shots on goal, although 4 of them were from about 50 feet out. And then the Kings have really picked up the pace a bit.
Faceoff will be right out at center ice now. John Tucker facing off for the Buffalo Sabres, a fine 20-year-old center. He is across the blue line now. It's taken by the Sabres. Pass to Sear, shooting, and a stick save by Janusek. Good shot from the right wing by Paul Sear, and a good stick save by Janusek. Puck is taken down by the Kings' Gary Galley. Headmans it up to center, out of the reach of a diving Terry Ruskowski at the King blue line, and we're going to get an icing call against the... No icing. The puck rolled loose, and it's touched by Bernie Nichols. That waved off the icing in the left wing corner Sabres zone. Ruskowski throws a check. Puck is picked up at the left point by Wells. Wells shoots, and a save by Barrasso of Buffalo. Puck taken now and cleared the length of the ice by Dave Maloney, but Bernie Nichols took a run at him and cracked him good into the boards. So the Kings tonight, Nick, actually both of these teams playing with a lot of spark here in the first period.
Well, both teams need a couple of points. The Sabres battling for first place in their division, the Adams division, with Montreal and Quebec. The Kings fighting to avoid a 4th place finish, possibly finish 2nd. Although Winnipeg and Calgary now have opened up a little daylight, but Nichols and Ruskowski out there this shift have thrown their weight around, and that's always very effective. If you do it consistently, it really can wear down the opposition.
Bernie Nichols ready on the face-off in the Sabres zone to the left of Tom Barrasso. Wins the draw to the right point, but it hops over the stick of Gary Galley. Comes back into the Kings zone. Galley back to get it. Kings ahead 1-0 first period. Galley's pass deflects into the Kings zone, and the Sabres offside on the play. Kings hockey being brought to you by Sears Savings Bank. With your Sears Savings Bank checking account, you can lend yourself the money you need to start an IRA at Sears Savings Bank. And by your local Pepsi bottler. Pepsi, the choice of a new generation.
Gilles Hamel, the past couple of years since he came up from Rochester in the American League, played exclusively on left wing. Now he's playing at center ice. Scotty Bowman likes to move his forwards and his defense all around.
Kings with it at center ice. Pass ahead to Bob Miller. Miller in front of the Sabre bench trying to bat at the bouncing puck, but he missed it. Now it's taken by Rick Lapointe, and Lapointe for the Kings sends it back behind the Sabre net. 9:49 to go in the first period. Kings ahead 1-0. Here's Bob Miller for the Kings. Down the right wing corner. Now behind the net. Phil Sykes with it there. Miller is knocked down on a check by Schoenfeld. Miller gets up, but the Sabres have it back behind their own net. Buffalo moving left to right. Here comes Gilles Hamel up to center ice. Hamel to the red line. Flips it into the King zone right toward the net. Stopped by Janusek. He sweeps it up on the left side to J.P. Kelly. Kelly against the left wing boards in the King zone. His pass didn't clear the zone, but now it is taken at the blue line by Bob Miller. Miller for the Kings over to Rick Lapointe. Lapointe passes on the right side to Kelly. Kelly into the Sabre zone. Kelly down the right side, and looked like he got a little elbow from Craig Ramsey there. Now behind the net, Kelly with it again. Dropped it off, and it's intercepted by Craig Ramsey. Now Phil Sykes checks him. J.P. Kelly with it for the Kings. Sabre zone, left wing corner. He pokes it ahead to Sykes. Sykes bumped by Craig Ramsey. Kelly with it again. Kelly left wing side. He's checked by Dave Fenves. Fenves and Kelly battle. Puck is in the corner. Now comes loose toward the blue line. Rick Lapointe with it. Lapointe checked from behind in the Sabre zone, and he holds the puck there.
Well, good work along the boards by Sykes, Kelly, and then pitching on the left boards to finally force the faceoff. Rick Lapointe a little pushing and shoving after the whistle, but everything separates. Pretty spirited first period, first 11 and a half minutes by the Sabres and the Kings. Both clubs are skating well, moving the puck well through center ice, and taking advantage of the hits.
Kings ahead 1-0. Wednesday night, the Hartford Whalers will be here at the Fabulous Forum, and there are tickets available at the Forum box office, open every day at 10 a.m. and all Ticketmaster outlets. So we hope you'll be here Wednesday night. All these games are important. Only 12 games left after tonight's game. Puck is faced off in the Sabre zone. Kings ahead 1-0. Sabres come back to center, 3-on-2. Up the middle, Phil Housley drops it back to Lindy Ruff, and it's poked away by the Kings' Craig Redmond. Now Hawkinson picks it up. Ahead, tried to get it to shut. We've got a penalty coming up, slashing against the Sabres. Delayed penalty. Kings with a 3-on-2. Here's Doug Smith. Tried to feed it to shut, and it's broken up by Housley, and the penalty is called against the Buffalo Sabres by referee Brian Lewis.
I think they're going to get Lindy Ruff, Bob, for slashing at Hawkinson.
1-0 Kings. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Penalty, number 22, Lindy Ruff, 2 minutes for slashing. Penalty, 11:34. Repeating, Buffalo penalty to number 22, Lindy Ruff. 2 minutes for slashing. Time 11:34.
We mentioned you throw checks and it takes its toll. Ruff has been hit a couple of times here already in the first period. It also gets you more aggravated as the night wears on, and Ruff just turned around and slashed Hawkinson after Hawk had checked Ruff.
Well, he's had the bad shoulder. He missed some games with a sore shoulder, and maybe he's been whacked on that a couple of times tonight, so he got upset. Kings on the power play. They are 6th in the NHL on the power play, 23.2%. The Sabres, the best penalty-killing team in the league. They kill 83.9% of the penalties against them. Kings roll it into the Sabre zone, and right away, Mike Ramsey grabs it and drives it all the way back behind the King net. 8 minutes left to go here in the first period. Kings ahead 1-0. Kings with a man advantage. Here's Taylor. Pass up the center, broken up by Dave Fenves of Buffalo, and he drives it back behind the King net. No hesitation with the Sabres, Nick. They get that puck, and it's back in your zone. Here's Dion now. Kings moving right to left. Dion back in the King zone. He circles. He comes to the blue line. He gives it to Bernie Nichols. Nichols down the left side. Drives it into the right wing corner. Sabre zone. Puck comes off the boards. Craig Ramsey with it. Taken away by Taylor. Taylor bumped to the right wing corner. Ramsey with it again. Taylor kicks it over to Dion. Dion left wing boards. He's bumped from behind. Taylor drives for it. Taylor left wing boards. Picks it up. Gives it to Dion. Sabre zone. Dion up the middle to the blue line to Hardy. Hardy pass in front to Dion. Just wide to the left side. Dion centers up the middle. Craig Ramsey intercepts. He gives it on the right wing to Brent Peterson. Peterson for the Sabres down the right side against Hardy across the blue line. Hardy checks him at the boards and takes the puck away. Gives it to Bernie Nichols. Nichols pass right side across the line. Offside. Dave Taylor. 37 seconds to go in the King power play. 1-0 Kings lead here in the first period. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network. Off outside the Sabre line. The Kings on KLAC tonight leading 1-0. Puck is down the right side in the Sabre zone. Doug Smith with it. Here's Smith up the middle to Engblom. Engblom on the left point. Kings on the power play for another 25 seconds. Engblom top of the slot. Engblom passes right side. Gets it back again. Top of the slot. He shoots. He scores! Defenseman from the top of the slot with a shot that went into the left-hand corner, and the Kings lead 2-0.
Brian Engblom. Assist to number 2, Craig Redmond. Time 13:50. Repeating, Los Angeles goal.
So the second of the year for Brian Engblom, right at the top of the slot. He put it in the left-hand side of the Sabre net. 2-0 Kings. Sabres come back down the left side, taken away by Craig Redmond. Took it away from Sean McKenna. Redmond clears it back into the Sabre zone. 6:30 to go in the first period. Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast as the Kings have jumped out to a 2-0 lead over the toughest defensive team in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres. Now the puck rolls down the left side into the King zone. Chased down in deep by John Tucker. Tucker down the left side. He's checked against the boards by Engblom. Up the middle, play fair, shooting just wide to the left side. Taken by the Kings again. Pass on the left side is cleared to the blue line to Steve Shutt. Here's Shutt to center. Steve Shutt from the red line. Shoots from there, and a save by Tom Barrasso, the goaltender for the Sabres. 5:57 to go in the first period. Kings ahead 2-0. Sabres with a Tucker bumped at his own blue line and knocked down by J.P. Kelly. Sabres with it at center ice, though. Puck is taken, and Gary Galley throws a check, but we're going to get a penalty here.
Bob Miller is going to go for elbowing one of the Sabres right in front of the Sabre bench. I believe it was John Tucker.
So the Sabres will go on the power play. Kings lead at 2-0. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Bob Miller, 2 minutes for elbowing. Time of the penalty, 14-14. Repeating, Los Angeles penalty to number 14. Bob Miller, 2 minutes for elbowing. Time 14-14.
Bobby Miller elbowing at 14-14. Now the Sabres go on the power play. The Kings' second goal on the power play a few moments ago at 13-15. Engblom his second from Craig Redmond. Dion and Engblom, and the Kings lead 2-0.
All right, and the Kings clear it into the Sabres zone. The King penalty killing, third in the NHL this year, 82.4%. Buffalo's power play, seventh, but they're missing their best power play scorer, Dave Andreychuk, with 14 goals. That means John Tucker is next with 8 power play goals for the Sabres. And now into the corner in the King zone. Everybody piles up there, and look out, Galley's over there.
Well, what happened, Phil Sykes was manhandled as one of the Sabres rode him into the corner, and then Jay Wells and Galley came over to his aid. And let's see if anything develops out of this.
Foligno is there for the Sabres, but he was not the man that was in there initially. It might have been Mike Ramsey. And I think we're going to get some penalties here by referee Brian Lewis. He's skating backwards toward the penalty timekeeper's bench. 5:22 to go in the first period. The Kings have a 2-0 lead over the Buffalo Sabres. Mike Ramsey will go into the penalty box for the Sabres, and Phil Sykes for the Los Angeles Kings. And here are the announcements.
To number 5, Mike Ramsey. Los Angeles penalty. To number 7, Phil Sykes. 2 minutes each for roughing. Time of the penalties, 14:38.
We've got a note here that Dave, Brian, and the Greek wish a healthy recovery to their street hockey teammate, Jeff Porter, who suffered a concussion during their game on Friday afternoon. So we send our best wishes along to Jeff Porter also.
We mentioned early on in the broadcast the Kings have to be opportunistic when they get a good goal-scoring opportunity. Well, 3 shots and 2 goals is not a bad percentage. The Sabres are out shooting the Kings 7-3, but the Kings have the only 2 goals.
Face off to the right of Bob Janicek. It's still a 5-on-4 skating advantage for the Sabres, and as they win the draw to Perreault at the left point, the whistle blew just before they won the draw, so they'll face it off again. King penalty killers, Doug Smith is up front with Anders Hawkinson. Galley and Wells are back on defense. John Tucker with 8 power play goals takes the face-off for the Sabres. Kings ahead 2-0. Kings win the draw. Smith to Galley. Galley fires it out to the blue line. It bounces to Lindy Ruff. He holds it in. Ruff gives it to Perreault. Gilles Perreault up to Ruff. Lindy Ruff goes to left point, gives it to Gilles Perreault. Perreault back to Ruff at the blue line. Left point. He shoots, deflected into the corner by Hawkinson. Held in by the Sabres. At the right point, here's Phil Housley. His pass into Tucker, and he didn't get it as it came off the boards. Janicek scoops it up on the side of the net, and he hangs on.
Well, Foligno and Wells did a lot of pushing and shoving as they were fighting for position in front of goaltender Bob Janicek. Away from the puck, Foligno, one of the tougher right wingers in the game, and of course Jay Wells, one of the tougher defensemen on the Kings.
Face-off will be to the left of Bob Janicek. 1:15 left to go in the penalty to Bob Miller of the Kings. Kings ahead 2-0. Sabres trying to get back in the game on a power play goal, but as they face off, Doug Smith gets knocked down on top of the puck. And they'll face off again to the left of Bob Janicek. Janicek with 20 wins this year, the winningest rookie goaltender in the NHL. Ready on the draw again now, John Tucker for the Sabres against the Kings, Doug Smith. Tucker wins the draw, back to Housley at the right point. Housley sends it down in the corner, tried to give it to Lindy Ruff. He chases it behind the King net. Ruff with it around the left side, out to the left point, gives it to Gilles Perreault. Perreault in the King zone. Perreault at the blue line, over to Housley. He shoots wide to the right side. Rebound behind the net, picked up by Lindy Ruff. Ruff out to Perreault. He didn't get it, and it comes all the way back into the Sabres zone. And then, as Hawkinson was chasing the puck, Perreault knocked him down. No penalty called. The fans are upset over that.
It's twice Hawkinson has been hooked, and he's let it go. I'm wondering if Lewis thinks that Hawkinson dives in those situations.
Here's Perreault across the line. He gives it to Housley. Took away, breakaway. Kings, here's Hawkinson. 2-on-0. Hawkinson with Dion. Hawkinson shoots. Saved by Barrasso. It was Hawkinson and Dion, and the Hawk went all the way in, and Barrasso stopped him on a 2-on-0 break. Back come the Sabres, down the right wing, Paul Cyr. He's checked there, puck taken by Perreault. Oh, what a chance for the Kings. A 2-on-0, second time we've seen that in the last 2 weeks. And the Hawk had Dion with him, and Hawkinson went in. He was the head man, took the shot, and Barrasso, Nick, with a big save there for the Sabres. Kings have killed the penalty. They're back at full strength. At center ice, Bob Miller steps into Paul Cyr of the Sabres. Hardy takes it. His pass bounces off the boards in front of the Sabre bench. Picked up by Bob Miller. 3.5 minutes to go in the first period. 2-0 Kings, and Miller sends it into the Sabre zone. Back behind the Buffalo net now. Sabres start to move out of their own zone. Pass on the right wing to Larry Playfair. Up to center ice, all the way down to the Kings zone. Chased down in deep by the Kings' Mark Hardy. Hardy circles the net. Hardy comes up to the blue line. He shovels it on the left wing. Muskowski. Here's Roscoe into the Sabres zone. Down the left wing. Roscoe checked there. He is still battling along the left wing boards. He gets knocked down. Puck is picked up by Fox. He is checked from behind. And still a battle along the left wing boards in the Sabres zone. Now the puck comes loose, and Larry Playfair. He's checked by Ruskowski, but the puck taken by the Sabres. Sabres moving left to right. 2:49 to go in the first period. Kings ahead 2-0. We've got an icing call coming up against Buffalo as they shoot it in the Kings zone. And icing called against the Sabres. 2:45 left to go in the first period. Kings 2, Buffalo nothing. Kings hockey being brought to you by Toyota's exciting cars and trucks for 1985. Toyota invites you to see them at your local dealer. And by Mark C. Bloom. You can't choose the right tire if you don't have a choice. Nick, probably the biggest improvement in the Kings this year, the penalty killing. They're just doing an excellent job of it, and right there had a chance for a shorthanded goal.
That's right. They're more aggressive. Phil Sykes, I think, has been a big addition. Bob Miller, and early in the year, Dion and Taylor, two veterans, were killing some penalties, but they look for those openings, and they've taken them for the most part.
And now off the draw in the Sabres zone. It is picked up by Jim Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld's pass up to center ice, broken up by Engblom. He slides it over to Craig Redmond. Now back to Engblom in the Kings zone. Clears it off the boards out to center ice. Picked up there by the Buffalo Sabres. Rick Sealing tipped away from him. Picked up by the Kings. Redmond down the right side. Redmond trying to get around Schoenfeld. Throws it in deep. Craig Ramsey takes it. He goes behind the net. Gives it to Dave Fenves. He's checked there. Shutt with it. Here's Shutt. Left wing board. Sabres zone. Shutt gets some help now on the left side from the Kings as it's taken away, however, as Doug Smith came over to help out, but the Sabres broke it up. Here's Schoenfeld to the red line. He drives it off Redmond's skate into the Kings zone. Picked up by the Kings. Brian Engblom ahead on the right wing to Smith. Nice play. Smith, right wing. He shoots. And a safe. Rebound. Smith again. Behind the net. Up the middle. Tried to give it to Hawkinson. Hawk with it. Left side. Hawkinson in the slot. Tried to get it to Smith. Broken up by the Sabres, and back they come 2-on-2. On the right side. Boy, what a nice lead pass. Was that Redmond gave that pass to Smith? Beautiful pass from the left wing boards. Here's Red with it again. Redmond up the center for the Kings. He shoots it down into the Sabres zone. 1:35 to go in the first period. Kings ahead of Buffalo 2-0. Back behind the Sabre net. Puck taken there by Buffalo. Sent up on the left side now by Mike Ramsey. Gilles Perreault. He flips it down to the Kings zone. Chased down by Foligno. Sykes is right behind him. Foligno's pass. Left side. A pass. Hit the referee, but comes to Mike Ramsey. His shot blocked by the Kings. 3-on-2. Here they come. Wells up to Bob Miller on the left side. Here's Miller into the Sabre zone. Centers it to Kelly. Kelly's pass to Sykes was broken up. Sykes with it. Left wing side. Sykes in the Sabre zone. Couldn't hang on to it. Taken away by Foligno. Foligno to center for the Sabres. Poke checked off his stick. 1 minute to go in the first period. 1 minute left in the first period. Kings ahead 2-0. Puck is at center ice. Mike Foligno for the Sabres. He sends it back to the King line. It's taken to the Sabre line. Housley with it. Now wait a minute. We've got Lindy Ruff and Bob Miller getting their sticks up, and now somebody else comes in. That's John Tucker comes barreling into Bob Miller.
J.P. Kelly
now
moves
Foligno
over.
comes over and pushes Bob Miller.
Yeah, Phil Sykes was dumped along the far boards right at the whistle, but what happened was Miller just kind of clipped Ruff from behind, and we mentioned it when Ruff took a penalty earlier this period that he's been whacked pretty good out there in the first period tonight, and his temper is getting very short now.
These two teams, as they go to the penalty box, Bob Miller and Lindy Ruff. Ruff is going to go off the ice. Bob Miller goes to the penalty box. Here are the announcements.
Number 22, Lindy Ruff. Los Angeles penalty to number 14, Bob Miller. 2 minutes each for high sticking. Time of the penalties, 19:10.
It's hard to say that these two teams, the Kings and the Sabres, are battling for the lead in the Stroh's power ratings. That is a new statistic in the league this year, and it is determined by adding your power play and shorthanded goals and subtracting the power play and shorthanded goals that you give up. Well, the Kings have a power play goal here tonight, and they started the game 2 points, net points behind Buffalo. Buffalo at 27, the Kings 25 in the race for the Stroh's power ratings. We'll talk more with Mike Laughlin about that between periods. And so the Kings had not only a chance on the power play, which they scored, but had a chance for a shorthanded goal, which would have added to that Stroh's power rating. Puck is picked up by the Kings at center ice. Here's Taylor. Sends it down the right side into the Sabres zone. Now poked away and picked up by the Buffalo Sabres' Brent Peterson. Each team is a man short. 36 seconds to go in the first period. Kings have a 2-0 lead. At the end of this period, Nick will be talking with Gilles Perreault of the Sabres. Puck is in the Kings zone. Mike Ramsey in deep. Passes behind the net to Brent Peterson. Broken up there by Wells. He couldn't clear it, though. It's held in by Craig Ramsey. Wells takes it again for the Kings. He gives it to Galley. Up on the left side to Taylor. Taylor across the line. Sabres zone. Gives it on the right wing to Galley. Galley goes in deep. Galley in front. Couldn't get a shot. He is spun around. The puck rolled off his stick. It's taken by the Sabres. Here's Brent Peterson up to center. He gets it ahead to Craig Ramsey. 4 seconds to go in the first period. Puck comes to the Kings. 1 second. That's going to do it. That's the end of an excellent first period. Here at the fabulous Forum, Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon, and the Kings have a 2-0 lead over the Buffalo Sabres here at the end of the first period. Jim Fox being led off the ice by the Kings trainer Pete Demers. We mentioned that Jim was hit in that game in Vancouver the other night from behind by Garth Butcher and injured his back. I did not see Fox get injured during the play here, but as the teams left the ice, Pete Demers, the King trainer, had Fox by the arm. Anyway, it's 2-0 Kings, and Nick will be back live to talk to Gilles Perreault of the Buffalo Sabres in 2 minutes. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
4 for the Sabres, 8.
And down on the farm, the Kings top affiliate in the American Hockey League, New Haven, was all over St. Catharines tonight, 11-3. The Nighthawks fighting for that final playoff spot. And they're 1:10 left on the penalties to Ruff and Bob Miller. At 19:10 of the first, they were assessed. Both went off for high sticking. The shots on goal, 8-4 Buffalo in that first period. And the Kings scored on 2 of their 4 shots. Dion's at 5:24. The game's first goal was the Kings' first shot of the period. He's out there to take the face-off. Both clubs are shy of skater. And here with the second period, once again, Bob Miller.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. As the face-off at center ice, and each team still shy a man for another minute 8. The puck slides down into the Buffalo Sabres zone. Kings are moving left to right here in the second period, leading 2-0. Puck comes down to the right point. Gary Galley holds it in to Wells, right on the line. He shoots, and a glove save by Barrasso. Puck taken by the Kings. Jay Wells on the line again, drives it down into the Sabres zone. Back behind the net. Second period just underway, and the Kings have a 2-0 lead. First period goals by Dion and Engblom. Sabres come back, pass on left side to Brent Peterson. Shot stick save by Janicek. Peterson on the left side, got a shot. Now here's Craig Ramsey back behind the King net. He's checked there by Gary Galley. Puck is in the left wing corner, King zone. Craig Ramsey with it again in the left circle, back to the blue line, out of the reach of Schoenfeld. Slides all the way into the Sabre zone, and the goaltender Barrasso comes out toward the top of the circle and flips it up on a play at center ice. 21 seconds left in the minor penalties to Bob Miller of the Kings and Lindy Ruff of the Sabres. We're talking about those Stroh's power ratings, Nick, which is the difference between the power play and shorthanded goals you score and the power play and shorthanded goals you give up. Buffalo came in leading the Kings by 2 net points. However, the Kings scored a power play goal. That means Buffalo gave up 1, and the 2 teams are now tied for first in the NHL in that power rating statistic.
Scoring change on the Dion goal. Delete the assist to Taylor. Give it to Hardy. So it should be Hardy and McClellan on the Dion goal in the first period.
Face-off right in the slot in the Buffalo zone, taken by Housley, but he can't clear it. Held in by Hawkinson. Hawk sends it in deep down the left side. Picked up by Mike Ramsey for Buffalo. He passes behind the net, and Gilles Perreault now gives it to Housley. In 7 seconds, both teams will be back at full strength. Here's Perreault sending it up to center ice, taken away by the Kings. Here's Doug Smith. His backhand pass to the Sabre line. Intercepted by Mike Ramsey. Penalties are over. Both teams back at full strength. Kings ahead 2-0. Here's Mike Ramsey into the King zone. He tried to give it to Lindy Ruff. Deflected behind him, picked up by Hawkinson. Hawk drives it around the boards. On the right side, Foligno holds it in. He's in the right wing corner, King zone. He's taken out of the play by Rick Lapointe. Puck is back behind the King net. Intercepted by Perreault. Over to Lindy Ruff. Ruff drops it back to Perreault. Broken up by Doug Smith behind the King net. He gives it to Hardy. Hardy's pass up on the left side to Bob Miller. Miller takes it off the boards. Miller's pass up to center. Gets it himself. Now rolls it ahead to Rick Lapointe. Here's Lapointe down the right side into the Sabre zone. Lapointe cut off against the right wing boards. His centering pass broken up. Sabres have a 3-on-1. Only man back is Hardy. Here's Foligno and Perreault. Up the middle to the trailer. Housley back in front. And a save by Janusek. Lying on the ice flat on his back. And he just deflected it wide to the right goal post. A 3-on-1 for the Sabres. Puck is still in the King zone. Here's Housley in front. Shot saved by Janusek. And he covers it up as he stopped Foligno at point-blank range.
Well, what happened on the 3-on-1, they got in too deep and still tried to make the perfect play. Foligno carried it down the right wing, then dropped it for the trailer, Phil Housley. Housley got up into the play and then gave it back to Foligno, and he deflected it in front. It looked like he was trying to deflect it across to Perreault, but Janusek got an arm on it.
So the Sabres mess up a 3-on-1. The Kings had a 2-on-nobody and were unable to score. That was in the first period. 2-0, the Kings lead. Face off in the Kings zone to the right of Janusek. Puck comes up along the boards and out to center ice, and now, oh, we've got somebody mad here. Fox is back out on the ice, and he's upset at Dave Maloney.
Maloney just roughed him up. He should have gotten 2 minutes. He put his fist right up on the side of Fox's head.
Gonna get an icing call against the Kings here, and Dave Maloney back to touch it, and Foxy was coming full steam ahead, but he got to it, and Fox says something to Dave Maloney now. Look out for those two. They're at the blue line of the Sabres, and Fox is really upset.
Well, he's given up about 4 inches and 20 pounds to Maloney, and I get a kick. Playfair has to step in between the two, as if Maloney can't handle himself if anything develops between Maloney and Fox. But I guess that's Playfair's role on the club. Big guy, been around a few years.
Want to say hi to a Kings fan studying and listening down in San Diego at San Diego State University tonight. Hi to Jeff Merkin from his buddies with the Northridge hockey team. 2-0 Kings, 17:30 to go in the second period. Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast on KLAC tonight. Wednesday night, Kings right back here at the Fabulous Forum against the Hartford Whalers and their new goaltender Mike Liut, whom they obtained in a trade with the St. Louis Blues. Off the draw in the King zone, Sean McKenna for the Sabres. Left wing corner, he's bumped hard. He gets behind the net to Tucker. Tucker around the left side. John Tucker for the Sabres in the left wing corner. Centers it right through the slot. Comes off the boards on the right side. Held in by Paul Sear. Sear bumped in the corner of the King zone by Engblom. Engblom and Sear. Sear on the right side, still with it. Drops it in deep, and Redmond breaks it up. He gets it ahead to the blue line. Broken up there. Driven back behind the net and taken away by the Kings. We've got a couple of incidents almost starting here behind the play. Kings roll it all the way down in the Sabres zone. I think Engblom and Sear were upset at each other. Now puck rolls to Nichols in front, and a penalty coming up. Nichols shot it, but didn't get much wood on it, and
I don't know if it's a penalty or knocking it down with a stick above the shoulder.
I looked at the referee, Brian Lewis. He had his hand up in the air, and I thought for a moment he was going to call a penalty, but I think it was knocked out of the air with a high stick, and the faceoff comes outside the Sabre blue line with the Kings ahead 2-0 here in the second period.
Phil Housley back out on the ice, the Sabres' first-round pick in '82, 6th overall. The Sabres acquired that pick in a previous trade with the Los Angeles Kings. 31 goals last year, 77 points. This is his third year, a native of St. Paul, Minnesota.
Now here's Jay Wells for the Kings. He drives it into the Sabre zone. Kings moving left to right. Taylor on the right wing to Dion. He shoots, and a save by Barrasso. Dion from the right wing boards, and Barrasso with a sliding pad save. Kings take it away again. Wells to Dion. Dion backhander. Broken up in front. And loose puck. McClellan shoots. Save. Penalty coming up. Well, no. Is it a... No, I think again it's knocked out of the air with a high stick.
Yeah, the backhander by Dion was saved by Barrasso, and it flipped straight up in the air, and then it was knocked down again by one of the Kings players looking for the rebound, possibly Dave Taylor. A mix-up in front of the net, but a good scoring chance. Jay Wells took a chance offensively. The reason why the Sabres, Bob, had that 3-on-1 break a few moments ago, Rick Lapointe got involved offensively and was caught in the right wing corner as the Kings had a 4-on-2 rush. Never did get the shot away, and the pass was picked off, and then the Sabres broke out quickly.
All right, indication again, the puck knocked out of the air with a high stick. Of course, for those of you who don't know, on a delayed penalty, the referee puts his hand in the air, but just one hand, and both times I looked up and thought he was going to call a penalty, but Both teams still at full strength. 16:25 left to go in the second period. Kings ahead 2-0. Here comes Mike Foligno for the Sabres across the line. He shoots wide. Oh, what a blast from the blue line. A bona fide 100-mile-an-hour slap shot or more, and went wide to the left goal post. Puck taken by the Kings. Can they clear it? Yes. Out to center. Again knocked out of the air with a high stick. The referee didn't see that one, but the linesman Ron Foyt called that. The Sabres knocking it out of the air with a stick above the shoulder. Now, if your own teammate plays that when you knock it down with a high stick, that's when the whistle blows. If the opponents play it, then play continues.
A few years ago, a big trade between Buffalo and Detroit back in December of '81. The Red Wings gave up Dale McCourt, Brent Peterson, Danny Gare, went to Detroit. Jim Schoenfeld, Bob Sauvé, Derek Smith all went to Detroit. Foligno joined the Buffalo Sabres, and everybody thought that was a real big deal, but only a couple of players have continued to play well.
Kings with it. Sabres zone. J.P. Kelly with a shot from the left wing. Saved by Barrasso in his glove, and he dropped the rebound down. Wasn't sure where it went. Kings hold it in. Bob Miller on the right side. Drives it back behind the Sabre net. Broken up by Barrasso. Tipped out by Sean McKenna. Buffalo back into the Kings zone. Kings moving left to right. We're in the second period. 15:45 to go in the period. Kings have a 2-0 lead. Dion with his 38th goal of the year, and Engblom with his second. Here come the Sabres. Gilles Hamel passing on the right side to Bob Mongrain. He just came back from Switzerland. He goes down the right side. He throws Rick Lapointe's stick out of his hand, and Lapointe gets knocked down on top of the puck to the right side of the King net. Kings hockey being brought to you by Sears Savings Bank. You don't need a fistful of cash to open an IRA at Sears Savings Bank. You can open one for as little as $25 and make additional deposits of $10 or more whenever you like. That's at Sears Savings Bank.
Bob Mongrain was signed out of juniors back in 1979 by Buffalo. Spent 5 years in the organization, predominantly in the minor leagues. Had some great seasons down there. This year he decided to go to Switzerland. He's only been back about a week.
Kings win the draw. It's back behind their own net, and Redmond checked there by Mongrain. And Redmond now picks it up in the right wing corner of the King zone. Poked away, chased by Engblom behind the King net. He shovels it up on the right side, and Hawkinson can't clear it. Mongrain holds it in. His pass back behind the King net, chased down by Engblom. He's bumped by Gilles Hamel. Puck is loose to the right of the King net. Hamel with it in the right circle. His shot blocked by Engblom. Out to the right point. Dave Fenves of Buffalo holds it in. He sends it behind the net to McKenna. Up the middle of Mongrain. His shot deflected up into the crowd. As the Kings' Doug Smith had over to deflect it. 15:03 left to go in the second period, and the Kings have a 2-0 lead.
Well, pretty good pressure by McKenna along with Mongrain and Gilles Hamel out there. Hamel's got good size. Mongrain is a speedster, more than an aggressive type of forward, and McKenna has pretty good size out on the right wing. Both clubs now make changes. The Kings struggling to get the puck out of their own zone, and Pat Quinn sends out the Nichols line.
John Tucker will take the face-off against Bernie Nichols. Kings ahead 2-0 in the Kings zone. The puck rolls back behind the net. Picked up now and cleared by Wells all the way down to the Sabre zone. Going to get an icing call here against the Kings. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
As we had the icing call, Nichols was chasing Playfair. Playfair had Nichols right on his heels. He touched up first for the icing, but then Playfair took exception to Nichols kind of bumping him right at the whistle. And then as Playfair was trying to get at Nichols, Terry Ruskowski stepped between, and Playfair and Nichols never did get at each other.
7. Larry Playfair, 2 minutes for roughing. Time of the penalty, 5:08.
Well, that's the only penalty, and Playfair is really mad. He slams the glass in just to the side of the penalty box. So he's upset that one of the Kings didn't get a penalty also. So the Kings will go on the power play, leading 2-0. Want to tell you about the senior Los Angeles Kings third annual hockey tournament. That's going to be held here at the Fabulous Forum, March 13th to the 17th. And the teams involved include the Senior Kings, Mexico, Conejo, the West Coasters, Thousand Oaks, Reno, San Diego, and West Covina. That'll be the Senior Kings third annual hockey tournament. All games March 13th to the 17th, and it is open to the general public here at the Fabulous Forum.
I think Brian Lewis gave Playfair the roughing penalty for starting that skirmish. Other players were involved in pushing and shoving, but it was kind of a standoff from that standpoint. And Playfair goes, and the Kings have their second power play. They're 1 of 1 tonight. Engblom's goal, just his second of the year. His other goal was February 7th. Engblom on the power play. Kings leading 2-0. Both teams with just 2 shots on goal here in the second.
Face-off in the King zone, and Marcel Dion wins the draw, gets it to Hardy. Hardy had it taken away, pass in front, just shot wide. Taken away by Brent Peterson. He passed it up the middle, and it was just shoveled wide by Craig Ramsey. Kings on the power play in their own zone. Taylor to Hardy. Hardy's pass back behind the King net, taken by Taylor. Sabres send 2 men in now. Kings ahead 2-0. Sabres trying to forecheck aggressively to keep from falling 3 goals down on a power play. Puck is flipped into the Sabres zone by Taylor, and the goaltender Ramsey flipped it, or the goaltender Barrasso flipped it the length of the ice all the way down in the Kings zone, and the goaltender for the Kings, Janusek, played it. He gives it to Nichols. Now to Dion across the line. Dion, top of the slot, right side, shooting, block, rebound, save on the shot by McClellan. Barrasso gets knocked down. Sabres clear it back out to center ice. 1:10 left to go in the King power play. 2-0 Kings lead. Pass by Nichols, intercepted by Mike Ramsey of the Sabres. Ramsey, right point. He shoots, save in the glove of Janusek, and he hangs on for the faceoff.
Well, the Buffalo Sabres have some good quality defensive forwards to throw out there when they kill penalties. Of course, Craig Ramsey did it for many years with former King Don Luce. He is still doing it. They've got Rick Sealing, whom they are sending out right now. Brent Peterson, excellent on the face-offs, and that's why he kills a lot of penalties, because he can win those key draws inside the Sabre blue line. Gilles Hamel, a big guy out there to kill the penalty now, along with Sealing up front. Dave Maloney and Schoenfeld back on defense. Dave Maloney came over after spending about a decade with the New York Rangers, and he wasn't too happy at the time of the trade, but I'll tell you, if you look at the standings of the Rangers and the Sabres, he's got to be very happy right now.
Now on the draw, Doug Smith draws it in the corner of the King zone. Engblom with it. Bryan comes back behind the King net. The Kings are moving left to right. We have 13:45 to go in the second period. Kings ahead 2-0. Pass by Redmond up on the left side to Smith. Smith trying to get around Dave Maloney into the Sabres zone. Pass ahead to Fox. Fox down the left side. Fox with it. Left wing boards out to the blue line to Engblom to the right point to Redmond. Redmond, Sabres zone. Redmond top of the slot. Poked off his stick by Gilles Hamel. Redmond trying to get back. Hamel picks it up left wing. Hamel stops. It rolls off his stick, and Steve Shutt had it for a moment, but the Sabres Gilles Hamel went diving head first on top of the puck, and he draws the whistle.
Well, Craig Redmond tried to do a little fancy footwork inside the blue line on the right point, and Gilles Hamel, using his size and his reach, poked the puck away and then just outraced Redmond down the left wing boards. Redmond had the angle, and Hamel couldn't shoot, so he put on the brakes, and he lost his footing, and the puck came free, and he kind of covered up semi-unintentionally, and he got the whistle. So the Kings have had very little offensively on this power play, which has 29 seconds left. The Kings do have a 2-0 lead.
I want to send our congratulations. We got some sports news from Plattsburgh State University in upstate New York. Peter DeArmas of Marina Del Rey, California, has broken the all-time scoring mark in hockey for Plattsburgh State University. And we'll tell you a little bit more about that when we send our congratulations to Peter DeArmas of Southern California. Puck is taken by the Kings. Here's Jim Fox up to center. His pass broken up, but now Redmond sends it to the Sabre line. Intercepted by the Sabres. Schoenfeld. He clears it up to center. Kings have only 7 seconds to go in this power play. 2-0 Kings lead. Here's Redmond at center ice. His pass ahead to Engblom. Engblom is stopped, and the Sabres are back at full strength. Here's Fox on the right wing. He shoots it down into the Sabres zone. 2-0 Kings. Sabres take over. They're moving right to left. Dave Fenves starting out of his own zone. Passes up to Foligno at center. Broken up by Wells. He gives it to J.P. Kelly. Kelly is bumped there, but he gets it over to Gary Galley. Here's Galley with Sykes. Galley shooting for the blue line. Wide to the left side. Barrasso, the goaltender for the Sabres, drops it back behind the net to Craig Ramsey. He plays it up on the right wing to Mike Foligno. Foligno's pass went behind Perreault at center. Taken by Craig Ramsey in front of the Sabre bench, and he drives it down into the King zone. Foligno on the right wing. Sends it behind the King net, taken away by Sykes. Sykes up the right side, stopped by Lindy Ruff. Ruff in the corner. King zone. Ruff's pass over on the right side of Foligno. Broken up by Wells. He and Foligno battle for it, and it's against the boards. Picked up by Lindy Ruff. Ruff bumped from behind by Galley. Now Foligno for the Sabres. Drops it to Ruff. His pass to Housley. Housley on the right wing. His backhander in the middle to Perreault. Now on the left side, shot by Ruff, and a save by Janusek. Puck is against the left wing boards. Gary Galley chases it down. Now Sykes comes over to help out. Now Galley with it again. Checked by Perro, and a whistle and a face-off coming up. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Hockey team, the Los Angeles Hockey Association, who recently won their state championship, will now represent California in the National Regional. It's good to have you with us.
Lindy Ruff with a good shift. Good work along the boards. 6'2", 190 pounds. He's been playing up front lately. He's been injured a lot the last couple of years. He's had quite a few goals the last 2 weeks. Key goals for Buffalo.
We're almost halfway through the game. The Kings have only 7 shots on goal, yet they lead 2-0. Puck is taken by the Kings in the left wing corner of their zone as Hardy had it. He's checked from behind. Puck picked up by John Tucker. Tucker spun around by Dion Tucker. Up, shoot, score! Oh, what a goal by John Tucker. What an effort by John Tucker, the 20-year-old center of the Buffalo Sabres. He was to the left of the King net, being checked by Dion. He got knocked down, and while on the ice, got control of the puck and tucked it just inside the right goal post. And it's now the Kings 2, the Sabres 1.
Well, that's just great second effort. We saw it in the first period when Dion failed on the 2-on-1 break, but he just used his perseverance and scored the goal eventually. And Tucker fell down to one knee, continued to stick handle, then moved in from a slight angle and reached around Bob Janusek, who tried to come out and get the puck before Tucker. Tucker's 16th at 8:25. You won't see a better goal from the standpoint of hard work and individual play.
And I'll tell you, that may, not that they necessarily need it, they're certainly in the game, but it may give a big lift to the Sabres. You should have seen some of the other team members out there. Nick, maybe you did. They were really jumping up and down and congratulating John Tucker on that kind of an effort as it paid off for a goal. 2-1 in favor of the Kings. 11:26 to go now in the second period. Tucker from Paul Sear at 8:25. Face off to the left of Bob Janusek. Kings have been outshot unofficially 13-7 with 11:26 to go here in the second period. We're mentioning Peter DeArmas of Marina Del Rey, where he at Plattsburgh State University of New York has compiled more assists, 105, and more total points, 188, than any other player who's played hockey at that university. Our congratulations to Peter DeArmas of Marina Del Rey. Puck now slides across the Sabre line, held in. Dion and Taylor down the right side. It comes back behind the Sabre net. Housley with it there. Housley wraps it around to Foligno on the right wing. His pass up to center, Lindy Ruff. Bounces off his skate. Perro went for it. Poked away from him by Taylor. Taylor sends it into the Sabres zone. Taken away by the Sabres. Perro, long pass ahead, breakaway. Foligno all alone in front. He shoots. Saved by Janusek. Oh, a great save in the right skate of Janusek. Now pass in front to Ruff and a save by Janusek. Picked up by Foligno out in front. Another shot by Ruff is wide to the left. And now up against the boards. Puck is loose. Picked up in the King zone by Rick LaPointe. He headmans it up to center. Here's McClellan. Mack comes to the Sabre line. Gives it to Dion. Right side. Dion's pass. Down in deep. McClellan goes for it. In the right wing corner. Sabre zone. What a save by Janusek. Pass up the middle to Nichols. Nichols left corner. Sabre zone. Nichols spins. Still with it. Nichols in the slot. Nichols couldn't get a shot. Sabres taken away. Look out, here they come 3-on-3 down the right wing. Gilles Perreault trying to get around Ingblom. And a penalty against the Kings. Phil Sykes. Pass in front broken up and a penalty to Sykes for hooking. 2-1 Kings. 10:13 left, second period. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Los Angeles nominating the number 7, Phil Sykes. 2 minutes for hooking. Time of penalty, 9:47. Repeating, Los Angeles penalty, the number 7, Phil Sykes. 2 minutes for hooking, time 9:47.
Penalty to Phil Sykes is for hooking at 9:47, but right before that, Gilbert Perreault, a great hockey player, 15th year in the NHL, set up Foligno on a breakaway. Beautiful save by Bob Janicek. They put pressure on, and then Ruff was stopped in front from point blank by Janicek. He had another chance, but he shot it wide. So the Sabres starting to put the pressure on.
Now the Kings come back 2-on-2 down the left wing. Hawkinson with it in the Sabres zone. He is checked. He still has it at the blue line. And no other King in the zone, so Hawk comes back to center. Then he flips it back in deep into the Sabres zone. Kings had a great chance for a shorthanded goal earlier with Hawkinson and Dion coming into the Sabres zone, but the Hawk got stopped by Barrasso. Now at center, Sabres drive it into the Kings zone. Dave Maloney fires it behind the net, taken away by the Kings' Bob Janicek. He flips it up on the glass. Jay Wells with it. Wells pass, knocked down in the corner. Now to Tucker. Here's John Tucker behind the net. Tucker now out in front. Now it comes to the blue line. Taken there, and a pass by Sear to Tucker. His shot blocked, held in by the Sabres. Dave Maloney taken away by Wells, and he clears it. Oh, what a battle in front of the net, Nick.
Playfair and Gary Galley. Playfair had held onto the stick as Galley was trying to yank it away from his grasp, and that's when all the excitement began.
Now Playfair across the line, taken away by the Kings, and no penalty as Ruskowski gets dragged down. I almost thought they might have been offside there, too. I'm not sure. Back come the Sabres. Sear, now they go offside at the King line, and Ruskowski's going to ask referee Brian Lewis about being hauled down and no penalty. 9:02 to go in the second period. And the Kings have a 2-1 lead over the Buffalo Sabres in an exciting game here tonight at the Fabulous Forum. And Kings will be here again on Wednesday night when the Hartford Whalers will be in. There are tickets available, and that broadcast on Wednesday night will come your way on KGIL 1260 on the AM dial and K-Wave FM 108 starting at 7:20.
Great pressure by the Perreault line, and Scotty Bowman is getting them out there every opportunity. He's not resting them very long. This is their third shift in the last 5 minutes. Perreault with Foligno and Lindy Ruff.
45 seconds left to go on the King penalty to Phil Sykes. Kings ahead 2-1. Kings within their own zone, and it's slapped the length of the ice by Rick LaPointe. All the way back behind the Buffalo net. Barrasso waits there. Bob Miller comes in, and Barrasso whacked him with a stick. Miller with a puck comes out to center ice with it. All the way back to the King line. He drops it off to Rick LaPointe, and he shoots it back into the Sabres zone. Barrasso cuts it off behind the net. Big goaltender, 6'3", 195, born in Boston. Now the Sabres. Here is Housley to center with 15 seconds to go in the power play. He sends it down the left side. Back behind the King net. Janicek stops it there, but his pass in the corner. Knocked down by Foligno. Picked up by Housley. Housley in front, shooting, hit the side of the net. Housley again. Left wing side for the Sabres to the blue line. Taken there by Mike Ramsey. He plays it to Housley. Back across on the right side. Kings are back at full strength. Mike Ramsey shooting. Tipped wide by Lindy Ruff. Rick LaPointe dives. Can't clear it. Yes, he did clear it. Offside Buffalo. And Mike Ramsey's upset at the call by linesman Ron Foyt.
Well, the Kings have to try and get some momentum back because the last 10 minutes has been virtually all Buffalo. They're getting some good chances. They're jamming the net. They're muscling the puck in front of Bob Janicek, and from the side of the nets, they're working it in front. And a great example was that goal by Tucker. Great hard work. 14-7. The Sabres have doubled up the Kings in the shots, and the Sabres have crept to within one with that Tucker goal. 2-1 Kings, 8:05 left in the second.
Kings hockey being brought to you by your Toyota dealer in the roomy 1985 Family Camry, the car the critics raved about, and by Mark C. Bloom. You can't choose the right tire if you don't have a choice. That's Mark C. Bloom. Puck is in the King zone again. Right wing corner. Sabres with it behind the net. Round the left side now. Here is Rick Sealing. Sealing cut off by Redmond. Sealing behind the net again. Goes to the right side. Now he's checked by Engblom. Up against the boards. Redmond comes over to help out, and the puck is frozen against the boards in the right wing corner of the King zone. 7:44 to go in the second period in a spirited battle here in the Forum tonight, and the Kings have a 2-1 lead over the Buffalo Sabres.
Jim Schoenfeld out there. He was a member of that big trade a few years ago. Really, the only players that have been productive since that trade for either team have been Foligno and Danny Gare.
Kings win the draw in their own zone. Up to center. Here's Taylor at the red line. Taylor shoots it in high, and it's gloved by Barrasso. He drops it down, plays it up to Craig Ramsey on the left wing. Back come the Sabres. Here's Ramsey at the red line. Into the King zone. Right wing pass. Dave Fenves cutting in. Goes behind the net. Rolled it out in front. Nobody there for the Sabres. Now they pick it up. Held in by Brent Peterson. Peterson into Ramsey. Ramsey's pass back to Peterson. Intercepted by Dion. Poked away from him, but now Marcel picks it up. Clears it up to center on the left wing to McClellan. Here's Mack to the Sabre line. Comes across the line. Shoots it back behind the net. Stopped there by Barrasso. His pass up on the right side to Dave Fenves. He clears it out to center for the Sabres. Taken away by now in front of the net. What do we have? We have Taylor grabbed by Schoenfeld.
Taylor's trying to get his stick, which was knocked out of his hand, and Barrasso and Schoenfeld were double teaming him, and then Schoenfeld took over for Barrasso and dumped him to the ice as Taylor was just bending over to pick up his stick.
I don't think the referee ever saw it because I didn't. I was following the play, and so was he. The puck had come behind the net, and the goaltender Barrasso flipped it off to the right. Taylor had his stick grabbed out of his hand, and he pushed and shoved in front of the net. Then, as the stick hit the ice, as you say, Nick, he was trying to get to it, and he was grabbed by Schoenfeld and tackled, and Taylor is standing there talking with Brian Lewis, wondering why a penalty wasn't called there for holding or interference.
Jimmy Schoenfeld never has been an outstanding skater, but a game player. He's had so many injuries in his career, and we've mentioned it the last couple of times we played Buffalo. He was coaching in their minor league system before they lured him out of retirement.
Now the Sabres, John Tucker sends it down the right side. He tries to jump around Wells. He gets the puck and centers it, taken away by the Kings. Pass up to center to Hawkinson. Now to Steve Shutt. Shutt down the right wing. Sabres zone. Shutt stops in the right circle. Gets it to Smith. Up the middle to Hawkinson. Penalty. Sabres tripping as Hawkinson gets knocked down. Tripping against the Buffalo Sabres. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Buffalo penalty to number 29, Hal Davis. 2 minutes for tripping. Time of the penalty, 13-17. Repeating, Buffalo penalty to number 29, Hal Davis. 2 minutes for tripping. Time 13-17.
Right now, let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Penalty to Mal Davis for tripping Hawkinson at 13-17. I mentioned the productive players in that big deal a few years ago. I didn't mention Bob Soba because he was traded to Detroit, and he's back with Buffalo now. What a great deal that turned out to be.
High face-off in the Sabre zone. King power play has Smith at center. Hawkinson the left wing. The right wing is Shutt. At left point is Engblom. The right point is Redmond. 2-1 Kings lead. 6:43 to go in the second period. Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon. Off the face-off, it comes to the Sabres' Jim Schoenfeld. He goes to the left side and clears it all the way down into the Kings zone.
Again, we see the value of Brent Peterson killing a penalty, taking that draw inside his own blue line, won it cleanly.
Kings moving left to right. Here's Craig Redmond, number 1 draft. He's up ahead of the red line to Shutt. Shutt across the line, in the slot, left side, shooting! Caught by Barrasso, a high shot that would have gone over the net. But Barrasso, taking no chances on how it might rebound off the boards of the glass, reached up and grabbed it, and he hangs on.
Pat Quinn has had Anders Hawkinson out there on the power play the last couple of games. Hawk had his first power play goal of the season the other night. He and Smith and Shutt up front to start this man advantage with Brian Engblom and Craig Redmond on the points. Engblom has a power play goal tonight.
Man advantage has a minute 40 left in it for the Kings. Kings 2, Sabres 1. Face off to the right of Barrasso, and on the draw, the Sabres break out of their own zone. On the right wing, into the Kings zone, Brent Peterson. He is checked there by Engblom, and the pass deflected back out to Shutt at center. He shovels it ahead to Doug Smith. Smith, Sabre blue line, down the right side, over to Hawkinson. In front, he shoots! Save Barrasso! Rebound poked away, held in by Redmond to the right side. Redmond into Shutt. Now Shutt throws a punch. We're going to get a penalty. Shutt threw a punch at Redmond, and he may get the only 2 minutes out of this.
Yeah, he grabbed a hold of Ramsey right around the neck and just kind of spun him around, and I think this is going to do it for the power play.
Now we've got another shoving match down there between Doug Smith and Brent Peterson, but Steve Shutt of the Kings is headed for the penalty box. 2-1, Kings lead the Sabres. 6 minutes exactly left to go in the second period here at the Forum tonight. And each team is going to be short a man for a minute 17. That's when Mal Davis of the Sabres will have finished serving his penalty, and he'll be back out on the ice.
The number 11, Steve Shutt. 2 minutes for holding. Time of the penalty, 14 minutes exactly.
I want to remind you, tomorrow night here at the Fabulous Forum, it's indoor soccer with the Los Angeles Lasers taking on Pittsburgh. That's tomorrow, the Lasers. Tuesday night, the Lakers meet Utah here at the Forum, and Wednesday night, the Kings take on the Hartford Whalers. Always something going on here at the Fabulous Forum. Busy week. Kings are on Wednesday night, Saturday night, and then a week from tonight against Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers. Puck is taken by the Sabres. Each team is short a man. The Kings are ahead 2-1, but it's a precarious lead right now. Sabres with some momentum here in the second period. They start out of their own zone. Here's Mike Ramsey passing up to center to Foligno. He passes ahead to Mike Ramsey into the Kings zone. Gives it to Perreault. Here's Perreault. Shooting save off the pads of Janusek. Puck comes to the Kings and cleared by Smith. Up to center, but it rolls off of McClellan. Taken away by Mike Ramsey. Ahead to Foligno. Down the right wing. Foligno shoots. Hit the goal post. He turned Engblom around, went to the right side, and hit the goal post. And the Kings still have a 2-1 lead. Pass ahead by Engblom, out of the reach of Dion. Taken now by the Sabres. Each team a man short for another 28 seconds. 2-1 Kings. Sabres across the line. Housley tried to go down the middle. Broken up by Bob Miller. Miller in deep. Miller bumped in the corner by Foligno, who got more of the boards than he did of Bob Miller. Kings with it now. Engblom. He's checked. Sabres try to hold it in. Pass into the corner. Broken up by Engblom. He circles the net. He comes around the right side. Passes up to the blue line. Now picks it up himself as it bounces off of Dave Maloney's stick. Here's Engblom. Drops it to McClellan. Here's Mack on the left wing boards. He is bumped there. Puck is taken by the Sabres. Back they come. Dave Maloney, formerly with the New York Rangers, where his brother Don still plays. Ahead to Perreault. Fires it into the right wing corner. Kings zone broken up by Gary Galley. Taken away by Mal Davis. Davis. Sabres on the power play. On the right wing side now. Sabres still with it. Kings ahead 2-1. Up the middle to Larry Playfair. Shooting. Saved by Janusek. Rebound up the middle. Held in by Playfair. 19 seconds to go on the power play. Pass behind the net. Broken up by Janusek to Galley, and he clears it back into the Sabres zone.
Bob Janusek taking a page out of Barrasso's goaltending play. Aggressively came out from the goal crease. Hugged the boards with his body. Made sure he knocked down that clearing pass and left it for Galley, who cleared.
Kings are back at full strength now. Puck is at center ice. Here's Dave Maloney for the Sabres. Poked off his stick. Taken by John Tucker. Tucker down the right wing. He shoots. Deflected up into the crowd. With 3:52 left to go here in the second period, and the Kings have a 2-1 lead. And don't ever let anybody tell you that a low-scoring hockey game can't be exciting. We've got some excitement here tonight, and some excitement up there in Vancouver Friday night in a 4-3 game when Darren Elliott, the King goaltender, faced 46 shots and was brilliant in the nets. It's just unfortunate that he lost that game.
Our guests after the period, between periods 2 and 3, will be Bernie Nichols live downstairs. We'll be talking to a Stroh's representative about the Stroh's power rating. And former King Jerry Korab will be a guest later on. Jerry is out tonight with a bad shoulder.
Sabres win the draw. Schoenfeld dives to the blue line to hold it in the King zone. Down the left side, it rolls behind the net to Jay Wells. Here's Wells around the left side. He waits, he headmans it up the middle and all the way down the Sabres zone. On target. Stop made by Barrasso. Now we've got Schoenfeld's going to go for slashing. And Schoenfeld wants to get at Nichols. Ruskowski jumps in front. Schoenfeld's going to get the penalty for slashing. Now, whether any other subsequent penalties will be dished out, I'm not sure. At least right now, I don't think so. But,
well, what happened, Nichols, in trying to go after the puck to center ice, was sandwiched by a couple of Sabres. One of them was Jim Schoenfeld. Now, as the puck came away, Bernie Nichols got part of his arm up on Jim Schoenfeld and gave him a little shot, and then Nichols slashed at Schoenfeld, and Schoenfeld turned around and gave it to Nichols, and I think Schoenfeld was the only one who was caught.
13, Jim Schoenfeld, 2 minutes for slashing. Time of the penalty, 16:27.
Nick, I don't think Bernie ever really did slash. I thought that he was going to. It looked like he was going to give Schoenfeld a two-hander, and then it looked to me like he held up. And Schoenfeld then did turn around. Now,
Well, I thought he got him on the side of the head. Maybe he was trying to avoid seriously hurting Schoenfeld. You never know, but obviously Nichols did something to infuriate Jim Schoenfeld, who goes off, and the Kings have their 4th power play as they have been nursing a 2-1 lead here in the 2nd period.
Face-off outside the Buffalo line. Dion wins the draw to Nichols. Nichols and Hardy at the points. Hardy fires it into the Sabre zone behind the net, stopped by Barrasso and driven around the boards to the right point by Mike Ramsey, held in by the Kings. Nichols to Dion, down the right side to Taylor, back to Dion. He throws it in the corner. Sabres are going to clear it here as it bounces over to Craig Ramsey. And Ramsey, the veteran, gives it to Mike Ramsey. They are not related. They spell their last names differently, and he flips it into the Kings zone. Taken behind the net by Hardy. Hardy throws it up on the right side. Now Taylor with it. Taylor up ahead to center, gives it to Bernie Nichols. Nichols across the line, poke checked off his stick. Sabres with it. They got Craig Ramsey breaking the center, but it's intercepted by the Kings. Picked up by Dion, and as he gave it to Nichols, just offside. The Kings just didn't clear the zone in time. Was it McClellan? It was
Brian McClellan. He and Nichols were racing to get back out of the zone, and as they turned right at the blue line to come back and get that head-manning pass, McClellan was just a half a step behind Nichols. Nichols was onside as he took the pass, but Mack wasn't.
We mentioned Gilles Perreault, 15th year with the Sabres. Craig Ramsey, 14th year of the NHL, all with Buffalo. He was their #2 pick in 1971 and held the record on the team for the most consecutive game played, 776. Then he broke his foot February 10th, 1983 here in Los Angeles, and that ended the streak. He is a cagey veteran, as they say, as he comes out to kill the penalty. 1:14 left to go in the King power play, but here's Craig Ramsey with it. Comes across the line, sends it in wide of the net in the King zone. It's picked up now by Taylor. Kings moving left to right. Here's Taylor up to center. Here's Taylor to the red line. Here's Taylor throwing it down the right wing side. It caroms behind the net. Barrasso stops it there. Larry Playfair drives it hard around the boards and all the way back into the King zone. 51 seconds to go in the King power play. 2-1 Kings lead, nearing the end of the 2nd period. 2:19 to go in the period. Here's Hardy ahead now to Dion. Dion to Shutt. Here's Shutt across the line, and Ruskowski offside on the left wing.
Terry anticipating the pass sooner than when it actually happened. Shutt and Ruskowski down the left side, and Terry just anticipated.
Kings hockey being brought to you by Sears Savings Bank. You don't need a fistful of cash to open an IRA at Sears Savings Bank. And brought to you by Michelob Light, an exceptional light beer with a rich, smooth taste.
Kings with 4 shots on goal in the first period, just 4 shots on goal in the second. We'd only have 2:14 left, yet they have a 2-1 lead.
Kings with it at center ice now. Still with 34 seconds to go on the power play. Here's Brian Engblom down the right side, clips it into the Sabre zone. It rolls off the boards and almost out in front of the empty net. Now picked up by Doug Smith. Smith centers it. The net was empty because Barrasso was going behind the net to cut it off, and the puck almost rolled out in front. Sabres take it away and clear it into the King zone. Pass up to center to Ruskowski, but he'd lost his balance. Sabres clear it into the King zone. It'll be a delayed offside if the Sabres get to it, and they will not. Ruskowski clears it to center to Smith. 5 seconds to go on the power play. Here's Ruskowski, rolled off his stick, picked up by Shutt, left wing. Shutt still with it. Sabres are back at full strength. Shutt's pass into Smith. He gets knocked down. Puck taken away and cleared to center to Gilles Hamel. Here's Hamel for the Sabres across the line. Hamel pumped there, and it's poked out to center by Craig Redmond. Good play by the King rookie defenseman. Now in front of the Sabre bench, Ruskowski knocked down, but the puck comes over the left side to Shutt. Both teams at full strength. Here's Shutt ahead to Bob Miller. Miller down the left side. Sabre zone. Drops it. Shot saved by Barrasso on the shot by Doug Smith. Nice drop pass by Miller, and Smith fired, and Barrasso was ready. Back come the Sabres. Perreault leads it behind the King net to Lindy Ruff. Less than a minute to go in the second period. Here's Foligno. Left wing side to Ruff. His shot deflected wide. Picked up behind the net by Perreault. Tried to give it to Foligno. He spun around by Sykes. Galley in. He's pulled down. Oh, no penalty. Foligno reached out and pulled down Galley. No penalty. Kings with it. Bob Miller. He's checked in the right wing corner. 39 seconds left to go in the second period, and the puck is frozen against the boards, but Galley just pulled right backwards off his skate by Foligno. Sykes had it behind the net, lost it, and then it was picked up by Galley, and if that's not holding, I don't know what is, because he reached out and almost pulled the jersey back off of Gary Galley. Mike Foligno should have had 2 minutes for holding. Didn't get it. Faceoff will be to the left of Bob Janasek. 38 seconds to go in the second period. 2-1 Kings lead. Dion with his 38th, Engblom with his 2nd. And here in the second period, John Tucker has scored for the Buffalo Sabres. Off the draw now, the puck taken by Gary Galley, and he drives it the length of the ice. And the Kings are going to be called for icing here as Dave Maloney gets back to touch it. 28 seconds left to go in this period.
Well, the Buffalo Sabres skating very well up front, especially this line that will, well, looks like finish out the period. Gilbert Perreault with Foligno and Ruff. Foligno and Ruff, the size, and Perreault with the smarts, the great stick handling ability. They've been all over the net of Bob Janicek, and they haven't scored yet, but they've been just on the brink. They've had some great scoring chances.
Kings still trying to catch the Winnipeg Jets, who won this afternoon. They're 6 ahead of the Kings in second place. Calgary Flames are 5 ahead of the Kings in third place. Here's Lindy Ruff for the Sabres in the Kings zone. Goes behind the net around the left side. Ruff still with it to the blue line. Left point. Shot from there. Passes wide by Dave Maloney. Comes around to Ruff on the right side. He sends it in deep in the corner to Wells. 14 seconds to go in the second period. Now it comes into Foligno. Foligno checked and goes into the right wing corner. Kings zone. His pass taken away by Bob Miller. Now Foligno throws a headlock on it was Perreault. Throws a headlock on Galley and drags him down.
Well, it was Perreault and Galley, and Galley was all over the top of Perreault, and as they got up, they dumped each other again. A lot of pushing and shoving at the end of this period, but now no penalties.
Housley skates by Sykes and has a few words with him, but time has run out in the second period, and the Kings have a 2-1 lead over the Buffalo Sabres at the end of 2. In a couple of minutes, Nick will be talking with the Kings' Bernie Nichols live downstairs. We'll talk about the Stroh's power ratings with Mike Laughlin, and will have come about. And Tucker just persevered, maintained possession while on one knee, got up, and somehow one-handed it past goaltender Bob Janicek. Sear got the only assist. 2-1. They had another great chance. Foligno was sent in all alone by Perreault at 14:30. Both clubs were shy of skater, and Foligno hit the right post behind goaltender Bob Janicek. Shots in the second period, the Sabres with 10, Kings 6, two-period total, Sabres 18, and the Kings with 10. The only other game still going on in the National Hockey League, and now it's over. Vancouver has defeated the struggling Edmonton Oilers by a score of 6-3 tonight. Edmonton, with first place wrapped up in the Smythe division, 96 points. Vancouver hanging tough. They're playing not too bad in the second half. They now have 50 points, and they're out of the playoff picture, although mathematically they are still in it, unless, of course, the Kings win a couple of more games or Vancouver loses a couple, which is inevitable. Bob Janicek will set up and defend to our right. Barrasso to our left. 2-1, the Kings in front. And here with the third period, Bob Miller. All right, Nick, a tight game here tonight. 2-1 as we start the third period. Marcel Dion will face off. Dion, McClellan, and Taylor up front. Galley and Wells back. Kings moving right to left. And on the draw, the Sabres win the draw. Both teams are at full strength. Here's Dave Fenves over to Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld shoots it into the King zone, but a whistle and an offside call.
You know, I came up from downstairs after the interview with Bernie Nichols, Bob, and I ran into Dr. Carter, the club physician for the Kings, and he said that Jimmy Fox took a stick on the eye, and I'm wondering if it was when he had that little skirmish with Dave Maloney. He has a little hemorrhaging in one of his eyes. We'll try and check on which one it is, but he will not play for the rest of the night. It's been a rough weekend for Jimmy. He was blasted from behind by Garth Butcher in Vancouver Friday night, and now he gets clipped with a little high stick in the second period tonight.
I remember mentioning at the end of the first period he went off the ice with Pete Demers, had him by the arm. Now the Sabres in the King zone, and Rick Sealing trying to roll it in. He is checked in the right wing corner. Sealing bounces off the check, passes up the middle to Schoenfeld. He shoots wide to the left side. Rebound, scores! It came off the boards, and the goaltender Janicek didn't get it, and Rick Sealing scores. Janicek reached down to get the puck off the boards. It went right under his glove, and there was Rick Sealing coming down the left side, and he ties the game at 2-2.
Well, Bob Janicek just plain missed the puck as he tried to pick it up off the boards behind him. Schoenfeld took the shot. It went wide, caromed hard off the boards. Janicek came out, seemingly had things under control, but suddenly the puck was behind him and virtually an empty net for Rick Sealing. And the game is tied. 12th goal of the season for Sealing.
Number 16, Rick Sealing. Assist to number 13, Jim Schoenfeld. Time 23 seconds.
Well, a tough break there, as you said. He just missed it as it came off the boards. Looked like a shortstop making an error on a ground ball, and there was Sealing. Here's Foligno in the slot. His shot sticked into the corner by Janusek. Game tied 2-2. First time tonight the Kings have not been in the lead. Up to center. Here's a pass to Nichols. Nichols across the line. Nichols down the right side. He is checked. Lindy Ruff picks it up for the Sabres. He sends it behind the net, and a check thrown by Terry Ruskowski there on Phil Housley, and Roscoe banged Housley pretty good. Puck comes into the Kings zone, and an offside called, and now Mike Ramsey and Ruskowski get into it, and now Foligno grabbed Ruskowski. Well, Roscoe checked Housley behind the net, and he whacked him pretty good. And they had words as they came up the ice, and Mike Ramsey, a bigger player than Housley, got in front of them, and Ruskowski went after Mike Ramsey, and then Mike Foligno jumped in and tried to grab Ruskowski. And now right between the two benches at center ice, everybody's been separated, but we will get some penalties here, I'm sure. 18:57 to go in the game. 2-2 tie as the Sabres score early here in the third period. Ruskowski and Foligno still having words. So while they head for the penalty box, now wait a minute, Lindy Ruff comes over, and he's got to get his 2 cents in. Ruskowski has not gone in the penalty box yet. Now he's hollering at Lindy Ruff. Mike Ramsey will go into the penalty box for the Sabres, and Ruskowski for the Kings. 2-2 tie. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Penalty to number 5, Mike Ramsey. Los Angeles penalty to number 8, Terry Ruskowski. 2 minutes each for roughing. Time of the penalties, 1:03. Repeating, Buffalo penalty to number 5, Mike Ramsey. Los Angeles penalty to number 8, Terry Ruskowski.
2 minutes each for roughing.
Ruskowski and Mike Ramsey getting the penalties for roughing at 1:03. The tying goal, 23 seconds. Sealing's 12th from Schoenfeld, who let the shot go that went wide from the left point, came off the boards and got behind Janusek, and Sealing just popped it home. 2-2. Kings had a 2-0 lead. 2 goals in the first 13 minutes, 15 seconds, but since then they've really had to work for any kind of shot on goaltender Tom Barrasso. The Buffalo Sabres were the best defensive team in the NHL by comparison. Buffalo has allowed 187 goals. The Kings 275, which is a difference of 88 goals.
The Buffalo broadcasters were saying before the game when I talked with them that the Sabres have kept the shots down and the goals against down, but they have been unable to score goals themselves, and that is holding true here tonight. A 2-2 tie in the third period. Each team short a man. Kings with it. Down the right side. Redmond, Buffalo zone. Up the slot he goes. He passes to the left point to Engblom. Engblom drives it in deep in the corner. Puck taken away by the Sabres. Pass up the right side now by Brent Peterson to Craig Ramsey. His pass bounces up in the air and down to Schoenfeld. It's at the blue line of the Sabres. His pass to Brent Peterson. Peterson from the right point with a drive. Ticked off the stick of Janusek. Puck comes out to the blue line. Held in by Schoenfeld. Taken away by Redmond. Redmond ahead now to Dion. Here's Dion down the right wing. Redmond the trailer. Dion Buffalo zone. Dion shoots, and a save by Barrasso. He knocked it down. He looked behind him. Puck is up against the boards and frozen there in the Sabres zone. I think Barrasso thought maybe that puck had gotten by him.
Yeah, he came out about 10 feet as he cut down the angle. Dion carrying the puck down the right wing, and from outside the dot at the right faceoff circle, took the shot. It was up high. Chest save was made, and Barrasso was looking around for the rebound, and fortunately, he got help from a couple of his players.
Kings home on Wednesday night against the Hartford Whalers, and the game will be coming your way on KGIL 1260 on the AM dial and K-Wave FM 108. With the pregame show at 7:20 with yours truly, Bob Miller, along with Nick Nixon. Tonight, glad to have the game on KLAC, and an exciting game here in the third period, tied up 2-2. Face-off in the Buffalo zone, taken by the Sabres. Larry Playfair, he's back behind his own net. Buffalo's moving left to right here in the third period. Pass ahead to center, and Bob Mongrain jumped up in the air and got knocked down. Now Rick Sealing in deep. Here's Sealing. He just tied it up moments ago. Sealing to the right point to Larry Playfair. Shooting and a save by Janasek. He drops it down for Wells. Wells, his pass stolen by Sealing. To Mongrain, to the blue line, to Playfair. Here's Playfair. Each team is a man short. And a penalty coming up against the Kings in front of the net. Delayed penalty. Here's Mongrain shooting wide to the left side. It's a delayed call. The goaltender has been pulled. John Tucker's the extra attacker. Here's Mongrain shooting. He scores! Bob Mongrain. A delayed penalty was being called against the Kings. The Sabres held control of the puck. They got the goaltender Barrasso off for the extra attacker John Tucker, and the puck came to Bob Mongrain, who has just joined the Sabres out of Switzerland, and he fired it up into the upper right-hand corner. And Buffalo leads for the first time tonight, 3-2.
Scored by number 8, Bob Mongrain. Assist to number 26, Dave Maloney. Time 2:30.
Well, it was coming up, the penalty. Had they not scored and the Kings maintained possession, the penalty would have been against Gary Galley, because he was interfering with one of the Sabres in front. He actually pushed one of the Sabres right into Bob Janasek. But on the delayed call, they got the extra man out there and worked the puck inside the blue line.
Now the Kings, Hawkinson at center, taken away from him by Housley. Housley's pass off the skate of Bernie Nichols, down into the Kings zone, and back to get it is Hardy. Hardy circles the net, comes up the left side. Here's Hardy. Each team still 4-on-4. Over on the right side to Nichols. Nichols from the blue line with a shot saved by Barrasso. Rebound cleared to center to Perreault. Getting back is Rick Lapointe. Perreault, left wing. He shoots, saved by Janasek. He doesn't know where the rebound is, and he finally turns around and finds it. Oh, what a terrifying few seconds for a goaltender. Janasek came out to his right, made the pad save against Jael Perreault's shot. The puck went through his pads, and Bobby didn't know where it was. He didn't know if it was caught in his pads. Finally, he put his glove behind his pads in case it was there. Then he turned around and finally found the puck and covered up.
The go-ahead goal, Mongrain's first in just his second game. Again, he was with the Sabre organization for 5 years before this season, went to Switzerland, and has just returned. His first goal from Dave Maloney at 2:30, while both clubs are shy of skater. 2 seconds still left on the minors to Ruskowski and Mike Ramsey in a face-off inside the Kings blue line. The Kings have to get some offense going. They have to generate some pressure against Tom Barrasso. They haven't done that since the early part of the game.
Now on the draw, the faceoff comes to the left point, fired in deep. Redmond had taken the draw, poked away by Janasek. Both teams back at full strength. Here are the Kings, shot up to center. He tried to lead it ahead to Ruskowski, but it's broken up. Sabres send it back to the King line, taken by Craig Redmond. Redmond's pass up to center ice to Ruskowski. Here's Terry giving it to Redmond. Redmond to the red line, down the right wing, Sabre zone. Redmond pumped there. It's taken away by Buffalo and cleared off the boards. Foligno chases it down, along with Engblom. Foligno tried to get around Engblom, and Bryan swept it off his stick. Puck is back behind the King net. Janasek plays it around the boards, and Ruskowski gets knocked down by John Tucker. Tucker walking in. His pass up the middle, broken up by Ruskowski, and he slaps to the length of the ice. We're going to get an icing call against the Kings. 3-2 Buffalo. Back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network. Of the Forum, the Kings will not be able, even if they win tonight, to clinch a playoff spot, because Vancouver's won. There's a shot and a score by the Sabres. It came to Paul Cyr right in the slot. He turned around and put it right up under the crossbar. And Buffalo leads 4-2 with 3 goals already in the third period, and we haven't played 4 minutes yet.
Tucker won the draw. The puck bounced up in the air, landed right in the slot, and while spinning, Cyr beat goaltender Bob Janasek.
19th goal of the season, number 18, Paul Cyr. Assist to number 7, John Tucker. Time 3:50.
Well, everything has gone the Sabres' way here in the third period. Janasek missed a puck that came off the board. Sealing scored. Mongrain scored on a delayed penalty. Now Sear right in the slot, flips it up under the crossbar. Kings with it now. Bob Miller down the right side. He goes in deep behind the net, centers it in front, intercepted by Dave Maloney. Hard check back just before the Kings brought it in at center ice.
By J.P. Kelly, really cranking one of the Sabres deep, trying to wake up the team.
Puck taken by the Kings now back in their own zone. Trailing 4-2. They led 2-1 coming into the third period. Here's Galley at center. He's bumped there. Sealing takes it away for the Sabres. Sealing throws it on the left side to Craig Ramsey to Sealing, and he just couldn't tip it in. Out to the right point. Held in by the Buffalo Sabres. Pass along the boards by Fenves. Broken up and cleared by Phil Sykes out to center. 15:05 left to go in the game. Here's Sealing. He gives it to Craig Ramsey again. King zone in front to Sealing. He gets knocked down, and the net gets knocked off the magnets. And a save by Janasek, but the Sabres now, Nick, really turning it on.
They are. They certainly are. 3 goals in the first. Well, 3 minutes 50 seconds of the period. It's been all Buffalo. Sealing, Mongrain, Sear. Their 4th goal at 3:50. Sear's 19th from Tucker, his 27th assist. As Tucker won the draw cleanly. The ice seems a bit lopsided here in the third period. The Buffalo Sabres really putting tremendous pressure on the Kings defensively. The Kings, Bob, only have 13 shots in the game. Their fewest total in any one game this year, 14 at Winnipeg, October 29th, and they won that game.
Puck taken by the Kings in their own zone. Dave Taylor can't clear it. Schoenfeld shooting from the left point. It's wide off the boards, picked up against the left wing side by Rick Lapointe. He is bumped there. Here's Sealing up the middle of Schoenfeld. He shoots wide. Rebound off the boards taken by Rick Lapointe. Lapointe doesn't clear it. Gave it away left point. Shot by Schoenfeld again, and a save by Janasek. Now the Kings starting back. Here's Hardy to center to Dion. Dion to the red line. Shoots it into the Sabres zone. Puck bounces off the boards, taken by Fenves. Fenves' pass around to Foligno. Foligno checked by Rick Lapointe. Lapointe against the boards, gets it into McClellan. Here's Mack out, tried to get it out in front to Taylor, but Schoenfeld falls down on it behind the net. And a face-off coming up in the Buffalo zone. 14:18 to go in the game. And the Sabres with the momentum now, and they have a 4-2 lead. Kings hockey being brought to you by your Toyota dealer in the roomy 1985 family Camry, the car the critics raved about, and by Inglenook, a special place or time to an LA sports fan that's rooting for the Kings, and Inglenook Vineyards is glad to be part of it.
Well, the Kings have more home games than away games in the remaining schedule. 13 left, including tonight, 9 at home, and they can take advantage of that situation, but they haven't here tonight. If they don't win, they're going to be 5 points behind Calgary and 6 behind Winnipeg.
Kings have beaten the Sabres twice this year, the only other 2 times that they have met. Here's Perreault's pass in the Kings zone, taken away by Doug Smith. Smith's pass broken up by Perreault at center. Ahead to Lindy Ruff down the left wing, and it's just out of his reach. Chased into the Kings zone by Engblom. Engblom comes into the right wing corner, bumped there. Foligno comes in, and his pass taken away by Steve Shutt. Shutt clears it to the blue line, held in on a nice play by Housley to Foligno to Perreault, and it went behind him in the slot. Taken away by the Kings. Back they come. Shutt gives it to Doug Smith. Smith drives it off the boards into the Sabres zone, into the right wing corner. Hawkinson, he's bumped by Mike Ramsey. Smith with it for the Kings. Smith, he's sent it toward the net. Housley broke it up. It deflects over on the right side of Foligno. Out to center ice, 2-on-2. Sabres with it. Gillamel with a drive from the blue line, and a save by Janasek. Puck is picked up by the Kings. Redmond gives it to Smith. Smith comes up to center ice. Smith's pass to Ruskowski at center. He's bumped against the boards by Playfair. Puck taken by Hawkinson. He shoots it into the Sabres zone. 13-13 left to go in this game. Pass on the right wing. Sabres chase it down. Mongrain chasing it in deep, and it's taken by the Kings. And we are going to get an offside pass called against the Sabres, or are we going to get icing? Did Wells get to it and touch? It's going to be icing.
Yeah, I think Mongrain knew that had he touched it, it would have been a 2-line pass, so he overskated the puck on purpose, and when the Kings touched up, that's when we got the icing call.
So the icing call moves the faceoff back into the Sabres zone to the left of Tom Barrasso. The attendance tonight, 12,310, and they have seen an excellent game, but they have seen the Sabres come on here in the third period and score 3 times in the first 3 minutes and 50 seconds.
Well, the Kings have to show a little bit more intensity. I think Pat Quinn is probably thinking that maybe the club should be a bit more physical, try and get back in this game.
Left point, Wells shoots, save, rebound, Ruskowski with a shot, saved by Barrasso. Puck is in the left wing corner. Sykes with it for the Kings. Sykes pass, left point, and we've got a fight on the other side of the ice now. Nichols is being wrapped up by somebody over there, one of the Sabres, and I can't see who it is. And now Nichols wrestles him down to the ice. The puck had come to Wells at the left point, and over on the far side of the ice, Bernie Nichols into a scrap with one of the Buffalo Sabres. It's Brent Peterson. So we'll get penalties out of this. 12:52 to go in the game. Sabres 4, Kings 2. Wednesday night here, the Hartford Whalers. Saturday night of next week, or of this week, the Detroit Red Wings. And a week from tonight, again here at the Fabulous Forum, Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers. They're still trying to separate Brent Peterson and Bernie Nichols down in the Sabres zone, and Nichols really hanging on. Now they've separated them. So they will go to the penalty box. 4-2 Buffalo. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Buffalo penalty, the number 20, Brent Peterson. Los Angeles penalty to number 9, Bernie Nichols. 5 minutes each for fighting. Time of the penalties, 7:08. Repeating, Buffalo penalty to number 20, Brent Peterson. Los Angeles penalty to number 9, Bernie Nichols. 5 minutes each for fighting. Time 7:08.
Nichols and Brent Peterson, 5 each for fighting. From an offensive standpoint, it's a good deal for the Buffalo Sabres, although Peterson, a great defensive forward, he has 11 goals. Nichols has 41. So I'm sure Scotty Bowman, with his club up by 2, would take that exchange. 5 each for fighting. It started away from the play. Buffalo with 3 goals here in the third period, 4 unanswered in the game. They lead 4-2 with 12:52 left in the third. Again, Jim Fox has not played in the third period, will not play the rest of the night. He was cut with a stick in his right eye in the second period, and a little hemorrhaging developed.
I think he actually got that in the first period, Nick, and then, as I say, went off with Peter Demers at the end of the period. Came back, tried it in the second, and I think aggravated it a little bit. And as you say, now not playing in the third. Now the fans now chanting, "Go Kings, go!" The Sabres called for icing, and a face-off back in the Sabres zone. A couple of fans up in the stands acting as impromptu cheerleaders, and everybody getting into it here tonight. 12,310. Hope you're going to make your plans. 3 more games this week. Wednesday night Hartford, Saturday night Detroit, and Sunday night Edmonton, all here at the Fabulous Forum. Kings are down 4-2 with 12:44 left to go in this game. They have beaten the Sabres twice this year. This is the third meeting and final meeting of the regular season between the two teams. The Sabres trying to catch the Montreal Canadiens in their division, the Adams division. Montreal tied this afternoon with Hartford 5-5. Face-off in the Sabres zone. Wells shooting and just tipped wide by McClellan at the right point. Galley holding in. Galley's pass into McClellan. He's checked against the boards on the right side by Mike Ramsey. Now Taylor comes over to help out. Puck comes loose. Picked up by the Sabres. Pass up the left side to Paul Sear. Sabres pass up to center ice, and Galley had it bounce over his stick, taken by Jay Wells. Wells pass to the Sabre line. Picked up by the Kings Dion, but offside on the play. Dave Taylor, who was not out of the zone yet. 12:21 to go in the third period. Sabres 4, the Kings 2.
Again, Vancouver defeated Edmonton 6-3 tonight. Winnipeg defeated New Jersey 7-1. Calgary idle. And the Jets are now a point ahead of the Calgary Flames in the battle for second place. After tonight, the Kings will have 12 games left, 8 at home, 4 on the road. Winnipeg has 11 left, 5 home, 6 away. Calgary 12 left, 5 home, and 7 away.
Puck taken now by the Buffalo Sabres. They're moving left to right. Here's Dave Fenves to center. He's bumped by Steve Shutt. Fenves flips it into the Kings zone. Taken behind the net by Wells. Drops it off to Galley. Galley up to Shutt. Shutt trying to clear it. He does. Out to center. Sabres. Craig Ramsey intercepts. Sends it right back into the Kings zone. Wells back to get it. Drops a reverse pass to Galley. Galley's pass up the left wing boards all the way down to the Sabres zone. And this is going to be icing against the Kings.
I imagine, Bob, we're going to see guys like Sealing and Ramsey, Peterson when he gets back from his penalty, quite a bit here now towards the latter stages of the hockey game. Good defensive forwards, and Scotty Bowman is just content to sit on a 2-goal lead, I'm sure, especially on the road.
Well, once you get behind teams like Washington and Buffalo, it is really tough to come back because, as you say, when the Kings had the lead, they weren't really getting many shots on goal. In fact, they have only 15 right now with 11:51 to go in the game.
The closest chance this period on Barrasso was on a rebound of Wells' shot a few moments ago from the left point. Ruskowski got a rebound but didn't get much on the rebound.
Kings have in their own zone. Here's Doug Smith around the net. Down up to center. Here's Smith to the red line. Down the right side with Shutt. Perreault knocks him down from behind. And the Sabres clear it back out to center. Chased down by Mark Hardy. Hardy over to Rick LaPointe. LaPointe to center. Ahead to Doug Smith. Tipped away from him. Loose puck of the red line. Picked up by Hawkinson for the Kings. Hawk fires it into the zone. Poked right back out by Mike Ramsey. Be a delayed offside against the Kings. And now it's going to be whistled offside as Steve Shutt touches it. 11:19 to go in the game. The Kings are down now. They had a 2-0 lead at the end of one. They had a 2-1 lead at the end of two. And here in the third period, Sealing, Mongrain, and Sear have scored for Buffalo, and the Sabres have a 4-2 lead.
You know, the Buffalo Sabres have done a great job of drafting the last few years. About half their roster, former first-round draft picks. 2 years in a row, they had 3 first-round picks, 82 and 83. Perreault, Sealing, Playfair, Peterson, Mike Ramsey, Foligno, Housley, Sear, Andreychuk, who's hurt tonight, Barrasso, and Adam Creighton have all been drafted in the first round.
Sabres with it. Here's Mal Davis shooting from the right wing. It's high and wide. Rebound off the boards at the blue line. Held in there. Pass up the middle. Tipped against the boards by the Kings. Engblom held in by Mal Davis. Tried to give it to John Tucker. Taken away by Redmond. Redmond to Sykes. Now to Bob Miller. Miller clears it to center to J.P. Kelly. Kelly down the right wing. Kelly, Sabres zone. Kelly, right side. Kelly in front of Sykes, and a save by Barrasso. Rebound up the middle. Redmond over right side. Miller shoots, and it's just deflected wide. Barrasso's lost his goal stick. Puck is taken by the Kings at the left point, and it rolls out to center. Engblom couldn't hold it in. Barrasso has lost his stick. Tucker goes in and gets it. Well, now look out. We've got a check near the boards, and then Sykes jumped over 2 Sabres and bumped one of them, and they go down to the ice.
And Larry Playfair tries to peel Sykes off the back of one of the Sabres as those two fell down. Larry Playfair, 6'4", 200 pounds, and he'll get in there whenever any of his teammates. Oh, now somebody threw a punch at Engblom. Engblom and Sear, is it, or Miller?
Now it's Bob Miller and Sear. Sear threw about 4 right hands, and then Bob Miller wrestled him down to the ice. One linesman. Now Bozak gets help from Ron Foyt and tries to break that up.
Sykes and whoever that is for the Sabres still on top of each other with no officials, and now they break it up.
Well, let's see who that is over there. That looks like
Maloney?
Brent Peters. Well, yeah, Dave Maloney. I think.
Yeah, Maloney's got the face guard, which he just started wearing a little while ago. Miller really hot with Paul Sear. Sear just came out of nowhere. Looked like he might have blindsided Miller. I thought he clipped Engblom with a punch, but apparently he was aiming for Bob Miller.
Well, they go to the penalty box. And Barrasso, in that previous flurry near the net, had lost his goal stick. But the Kings, as the puck came to the blue line, it was kind of wobbly and bouncing off the boards, and Engblom just couldn't hold it in, and so the Kings couldn't put any pressure on him.
Number 18, Paul Sear. Los Angeles penalty to number 14, Bob Miller. 5 minutes each for fighting. Time of the penalties, 9:27.
10:33 left to go in the game, and the Buffalo Sabres, with 3 third-period goals, have a 4-2 lead over the Kings. Terry Ruskowski, the King captain, is talking with the referee Brian Lewis, and 4 of the Sabres gathered around to hear what's going on. And we will have a face-off coming up just outside the Buffalo blue line.
You know, we mentioned all those first-round draft picks by the Buffalo Sabres and how they built this club. In the last couple of drafts, the drafts in which they had 3 first-round picks, 82 and 83. In 82, Housley, Sear, and Andreychuk. The Housley first-round pick they acquired in a trade from the L.A. Kings. And in 83, they took Barrasso, Creighton, and Norm Lacombe, who is still in the minors. And they got Barrasso in a trade, that draft pick, from the Los Angeles Kings. So Buffalo certainly picked the pockets of a couple of clubs, not only Los Angeles but others, the past 5-6 years. Scotty Bowman came in 1979 and really shook up the team, made some trades. He's made big trades with Detroit and Quebec and a lot of others.
Face-off outside the Sabre line. Gary Galley for the Kings. Came across the line, is broken up. Poked back to center. Kings with it at the red line. Here's Wells. He fires it into the Sabre zone. Barrasso almost mishandles it behind the net. Now the Sabres take over. Up on the right wing. Sealing. He shovels it ahead to Mongrain. Broken up there. Kings with it. Jay Wells pass. Intercepted at center ice by Rick Sealing of Buffalo. Taken away from him in the Kings zone by Ruskowski. Over to Wells. Wells up to center. He gives it to Sykes. Phil Sykes drives it down the left side, back behind the Sabre net. Fans thought a penalty should have been called as Sykes got knocked down. Puck is against the right wing boards and frozen there by Sealing with Ruskowski all over him with 9:57 to go in the game, and the Kings are trailing 4-2. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network. Face-off in the Sabre zone to the left of goaltender Tom Barrasso. He came out of high school in the Boston area. Number 1 pick, 5th overall in the draft in 1983. He last year was the NHL Rookie of the Year, won the Vezina Trophy, first-team All-Star. Well, what a year he had, and he's having another good year this year, his second year in the league. Dion on the face-off and a false draw, and they'll do it again. In fact, Tom Barrasso, the Buffalo goaltender, was only the 3rd goalie in 67 years of the National Hockey League to win the Rookie of the Year and the Vezina trophies, as well as being first-team All-Star in the same season. The others, Frankie Brimsek in 1939 and Tony Esposito in 1970. He joined some elite company. Off the draw, the puck rolls in front to Barrasso, and they give him all day to hang on to it.
Well, he got the whistle, and now he's upset with Bob Myers.
Well, what's he upset about? He could have had a delay of game. Nobody was around him, and he hangs on to it.
Well, he's the type of goaltender that gets involved in the game. You have to give him credit. He's a cocky youngster, and he's got 22 penalty minutes. Last year, he got into an altercation here at the Forum. His first NHL shutout here at the Forum, and earlier in the season, he was sent down in the first month to Rochester for 2 weeks. Was not happy about it at all. Came back and has been really on his game, but he had a real hot streak about 2 months ago, and he was very quick to give credit to his defense. And it's very easy, I think, for a goaltender when he's only facing 15 shots a game like he has tonight, and only a couple of those have been really excellent chances offensively for the Kings.
Now off the draw in the Sabre zone. Buffalo with it. Dave Fenves up to center. Another young defenseman, 24 years old, signed as a free agent. He fires it down back behind the King net. Kings moving right to left. They had a 2-0 lead. They have given up 4 unanswered goals to the Sabres. Long pass to center, broken up, taken by Rick Sealing. Sealing down the left wing, trying to get around Hardy. Sealing in deep, centers it, poked behind the net by Janusek, and Hardy knocks Sealing down. Back on the Kings. Dion passes to center, taken away by Craig Ramsey. He flips it back in. Offside Sabres. And with 9:21 left to go in this game, the faceoff is going to be out near the red line. I think the Kings are arguing a deliberate offside, and it should be back in the Sabres zone. Kings hockey being brought to you by Sears Savings Bank. With your Sears Savings Bank checking account, you can lend yourself the money you need to start an IRA. And by Michelob Light, an exceptional light beer with a rich, smooth taste. Now at center, the Kings with it. Here is Taylor passing back in the Kings zone to Hardy. 9:10 to go in the game. Kings are down 4-2. Puck taken away at center by Phil Housley of the Sabres. 2 weeks ago tonight, he did not have a good game at all in Buffalo. Nicky's playing better tonight. Up to center, here come the Kings on the left wing. Brian McClellan shoots it into the Sabres zone. Behind the net, Barrasso stops it there. It's tipped away. Taylor tried to jam it in. He scores! Went behind the net, flipped the puck, but it bounced off the stick to Taylor. He came around the goal post and jammed it in. And with 8:50 2:53 to go in the game. The Sabres now lead 4-3.
36th goal of the season for Dave Taylor. Dion may or may not get an assist, but he certainly was instrumental in getting that puck free to Dave Taylor behind the net.
Assist to number 16, Marcel Dion. Number 27, Brian McClellan. Time 11:07.
And now the Sabres send it all the way down to the Kings zone, and we have an icing call as Engblom gets back to touch it. Icing against the Buffalo Sabres. So we'll have a face-off back down in the Sabre zone to the right of Tom Barrasso.
Taylor's 36th from Dion and McClellan. Marcel now with 105 points on the season, running away with the club scoring championship. 38 goals, 67 assists.
Taylor just came around that right goal post, and before Barrasso could get his skates over there, Davey Taylor had jammed it in. Now a one-goal game with 8:40 to go. The Kings trying to come back. Puck is in the Sabre zone, left point. Engblom to Schutt. Here's Schutt. Tried to give it to Smith. It went off his stick, but cleared by Gilles Hamel of Buffalo. Back down into the Kings zone. Picked up there by Craig Redmond. Redmond up to center. Redmond passing down the Sabre zone, and offside called against the Kings.
Hawkinson and Playfair pushing and shoving now. Now a couple Sabres come in. Where are the Kings?
Well, I think they were headed for the bench, and they turned around and realized that Hawk was deep in the Buffalo zone and pushing and shoving with Larry Playfair. Look out now. Now somebody's getting into it. Smith and Playfair, or is it Playfair? He's throwing all kinds of right hands. Or is it Sean McKenna?
McKenna, number 12.
Sean McKenna and Doug Smith. And McKenna whacked Dougie with about 4 right hands and knocked him down. And they'll separate them now.
It's our third altercation of the period. Really our fourth. The other one, the first one wasn't involving fighting majors, but Ruskowski and Mike Ramsey did go for roughing each other.
Well, Sean McKenna got the best of that with Doug Smith. They both go to the penalty box now. And Smith, before he goes, has a few words for McKenna. The Kings have drawn to within 1 goal on a goal by Taylor from Dion and McClellan at 11:07. It's 4-3 Buffalo. We'll be back in 30 seconds. This is the Los Angeles Kings Hockey Network.
Buffalo penalty to number 12, Sean McKenna. Los Angeles penalty to number 23, Doug Smith. 5 minutes each for fighting. Time of the penalties, 11:38. Repeating. Buffalo penalty to number 12, Sean McKenna. Los Angeles penalty to number 23, Doug Smith. 5 minutes each for fighting. Time 11:38.
Fighting majors to Smith and McKenna at 11:38. Earlier this period, Miller and Sear fighting majors. Nichols and Brent Peterson fighting majors. Ruskowski and Mike Ramsey roughing minors. 8:22 left to play. The Kings have closed to within a goal. 4-3 Buffalo. Taylor's goal at 11:07 from Dion and McClellan. Taylor, Dion, and Engblom with the goals for the Kings this evening.
Face-off out of the neutral zone, and Ruskowski drawing against John Tucker. Sabres send it to the King line. Wells stumbled a little bit, and the puck came down into the zone, and Gary Galley back to get it. Galley, his pass taken away by Tucker for Buffalo, back behind the King net. He tried to roll it out in front. Ruskowski came over to get it. Now against the left wing boards. Roscoe checked there. Puck is held in by Mal Davis, sends it behind the King net. Janusek stops it for Galley, up to Sykes. Sykes is pressured in deep by Dave Maloney. The referee, Brian Lewis, gets in the way, and the Kings pass around the left wing boards to J.P. Kelly. Kelly couldn't hold it. Sabres hold it in again. Tucker with it. Now taken away by Ruskowski. His pass right side to Sykes. Sykes with Kelly into the Buffalo zone, and Sykes went offside.
Well, he hit the blue line, and the puck bounced off his stick. He picked it up again, and either Sykes or Kelly, busting down the left side, forced the offsides. But a bad break for the Kings as the Kings try and keep the momentum to their side, as Taylor has gotten some of it back with that goal. The crowd is definitely back into the hockey game. Kings have been questioning Brian Lewis quite a bit here this evening. Ruskowski just finished chatting with him, and now Marcel Dion has a few words for veteran referee Brian Lewis.
4-3 in favor of the Buffalo Sabres with 7:39 to go in the game. Kings send the Dion line out. Dion, Taylor, McClellan. Puck is in the Sabres zone. Dion down the right side. It bounces to the blue line. Held in. No, not held in. Hardy's upset now with the linesman Ryan Bozak, as Hardy thought he had held it in, but they rule offside. It had come across the blue line, and Hardy shot it back in. Kings offside on the play. Well, we have had a lot of excitement here tonight, to say the least, at the Fabulous Forum. 12,310 fans. Kings are down 4-3, and the next game Wednesday night when the Hartford Whalers and goaltender Mike Liut come into the Forum. Puck is in the Sabres zone. Bounces on the right side, but knocked out of the air with a high stick, and a face-off for a hand pass coming up. Face-off after the hand pass with 7:23 left to go in the game, and the Kings, after a 2-0 lead, fell behind 4-2. They have now made it 4-3. 7:23 left in the game.
Peterson, Sealing, Ramsey, defensive specialists out against Dion's line. Face off inside the Buffalo blue line.
Now ready on the draw. Dion and Peterson, and the loose puck. Sabres pick it up, and Schoenfeld clears it ahead. Here's a break down the left side by Sealing. Cutting in front. He shoots wide to the right side as Rick LaPointe got back in a hurry. Hardy with it up to Dion, right wing, Sabres zone. Dion's pass broken up by Craig Ramsey, and he clears it back out to center. 7 minutes to go in the game. Bob Miller with Nick Nixon. Kings are down 4-3. Here's Taylor for the Kings. Sends it back behind the Sabre net. Barrasso almost mishandled it again. It's behind the net, and Fenves holds it against the boards and draws the whistle as Dion and McClellan tried to dig it out but couldn't do it. 6:51 to go in regulation. 4-3 Sabres lead.
Now line changes. Again, Jim Fox out with an injured right eye. Has not played the second half of the game. Won't return tonight. And this is forcing Pat Quinn to do a little juggling. He's going with all the available forwards. And Phil Sykes earlier in the period did a little double shifting. Face off now with Nichols, Hawkinson, and Shutt out up front. So Pat Quinn juggling the line combinations because of the injury to Fox, and of course all the major penalties this period to forwards.
Kings with it, left point, Engblom. Engblom with it, he shoots, tipped, save, rebound, Redmond overskated, and it's cleared out to center. Taken by the Kings. Here is Engblom ahead to Redmond. Redmond to Shutt. Shutt drives it into the Sabre zone. Foligno breaks it up, held in by Redmond, and it just rolled outside. And when Nichols brought it in, offside, and Foligno grabs Nichols and checks him hard and then hangs on to him against the right wing boards.
Well, what a drawn-out third period this has turned out to be. Every 10-15 seconds we're getting a whistle, an offsides call, an icing, an altercation. And the linesmen really have their hands full.
Tough customer out there, Mike Foligno, 6'2", 195, #1 pick of Detroit and 3rd overall in '79. Runner-up for the NHL Rookie of the Year in 1980 to Raymond Bourque of Boston. Just moments ago, Barrasso made a save, and the rebound came up in the air, and Bernie Nichols in deep just couldn't control it. Kings are down 4-3 with 6:32 left to go in this game.
Third game with the Sabres and final meeting between these two clubs, and all the games have been close, gone right down to the wire. 3-2, 4-2 Kings, and now it's 4-3 Sabres.
Here's Gary Galley, knocked down to the Sabre line by Housley, and Mike Ramsey clears it down, and J.P. Kelly checks Foligno. Foligno bounces off the check in the Kings zone. His pass along the boards to Perreault, broken up by Ruskowski. Here's Terry to center for the Kings. Ruskowski throws it off the right wing boards, chases it down in deep. Housley picks it up. His pass is intercepted by J.P. Kelly. He holds it in. He gets it to Phil Sykes. Sykes in the Sabre zone to Ruskowski. Terry in deep. Terry behind the net. He is grabbed, and it comes over to J.P. Kelly. Kelly in the corner. Kelly is checked there. Ruskowski pushed by Housley, and a whistle by the referee, Brian Lewis. I'll tell you, to the right side of the net, somebody's flying, tackled, and everything else, and things may be close to getting a little bit out of hand here in this third period. 5:53 left to go in the game. 4-3 Sabres. The last game here between the two teams went down to 1:27 left in the game, and Dave Taylor won it for the Kings.
Well, the Sabres forwards obviously thinking the way that they want to preserve this lead, because in that last rush they had Foligno go into the zone, but Lindy Ruff hung around the Kings blue line to make sure that they had at least 3 players back, the 2 defensemen and a forward, to prevent the Kings from breaking out a 3-on-2 or a 2-on-1.
Face off to the right of Tom Barrasso. Dion out again. Both teams at equal strength. Dion on the face-off, and Lapointe gets knocked down. Schoenfeld behind the net, checked by Taylor. Schoenfeld and Taylor into the corner. Taylor bumps Schoenfeld hard. Dion is there in case the puck comes loose, and a whistle again. Getting some quick whistles now by Brian Lewis as he's trying to keep everything under control here, but Davey Taylor went into the corner there and threw some pretty good body checks against Schoenfeld.
Well, every time players meet in the corners and we get a face-off, about 4 or 5 other players join in and do a little pushing and shoving and just stand around, and they want to be there in case something breaks out, and that's really slowing the game down.
And a tough, grinding game tonight. 5:43 left in the game. 4-3 Buffalo. Face off to the left of goaltender Tom Barrasso. Dion again will take the draw. Kings setting up. Taylor's in the slot. Lapointe in the slot, and off the draw. Dion shovels it in deep. It's taken by Dave Fenves of Buffalo behind his own net. He comes around the right side, passes up to center ice. Craig Ramsey with it. He throws it over now to Sealing. Flips it into the Kings zone, taken away by Taylor. He tried to give it to Dion. Broken up by Schoenfeld. His pass out to center. Now taken by Fenves, and it comes up over the boards and over the glass into the crowd. 5:25 left to go in regulation. 4-3. The Sabres have the lead as they scored 3 quick goals early here in the third period.
Well, after tonight, the Kings will have 8 more home games, 3 more on this homestand. Wednesday night with Hartford, Detroit Saturday, and Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers, the slumping Edmonton Oilers, a week from tonight. Sunday night at 7:30. Tickets for those games and all remaining home games are on sale at the Forum box office and Ticketmaster.
At center ice, Kings with it. McClellan, he is spun around and pulled down. No penalty called. Back down the right side, the Sabres send it into the Kings zone. And it comes behind the net over to Sealing. Sealing on the left side. He gives it back to Craig Ramsey. Ramsey behind the net. He gets knocked down by Lapointe. Sealing with it again. His pass taken away by the Kings. Here is Hardy playing it up the left side to McClellan. Mack passes up the center to Rick Lapointe. He kicks it down into the Sabres zone. 4:51 to go in the game. Kings are down by a goal. Puck is cleared back out to center by Brent Peterson of Buffalo. Taken by the Kings. Hardy ahead to Dion, right wing, Sabres zone. Dion trying to get around Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld falls down. Dion with it. Pass up the middle is going to be taken by Sear. He's bumped into the boards by Rick Lapointe. Kings hold it in. Here's McClellan in front over to Dion. He scores! Slot to McClellan over to Dion, and he shoveled it in. And with 4:30 to go in the game, the Kings have tied the score at 4-4.
The Sabres are upset with Brian Lewis this time. Mike Ramsey pointing to the ice surface where Rick Lapointe had tripped up one of the Sabres.
His second goal of the night, his 39th of the season. Number 16, Marcel Dion. Assist to number 27, Brian McClellan. And number 21, Anders Hawkinson. Time 15:30.
The Hawk had the puck against the right wing boards. Hawkinson, as the Sabres had started to come out of the zone, and McClellan and Dion were in deep, and the puck came to Mack, and he was all alone in the slot. Here's Nichols down the right side. Barrasso pokes it away. Picked up by Schutt. Sabres zone. His backhander broken up in front. Back come the Sabres now. Up to center, and a hard check on Dave Maloney by 2 of the Kings. Schutt and Hawkinson, and an offside called against Buffalo. Oh, brother. No place for the weak of heart out there tonight, Nick, and now the Sabres upset with Hawkinson.
Well, the Kings, one thing you could say about this drawn-out third period is that they're definitely not backing down from the Sabres. They're getting involved now. Playfair and McClellan.
And McClellan
by Brian McClellan. That's why.
A great job by McClellan. Now Playfair trying to get at the Kings bench. Or not Playfair, excuse me, Barrasso. And who's Janasek throwing a punch at Barrasso.
Of course, players from both clubs trying to help out their goaltenders. But Brian McClellan just manhandled 6'4", 200-pound Larry Playfair. Mac, no slouch, the biggest player for the Kings at 6'3", 215.
Great job by McClellan. He just grabbed Playfair and pounded him right down to the ice. Mac doesn't get mad very often, but he did that time. And they're still trying to separate the goaltenders. I believe are at the bottom of the pile. Barrasso came skating out, and then all of a sudden it looked like he and Janasek.
Well, we've got something going on. Ruskowski, Dion, Hamel has a hold of, who is that? Gary Galley?
Or is it Galley? Let's see.
I think it's Galley.
Yeah, it's Galley. They've kind of separated everybody now except Galley and Gilles Hamel.
Lindy Ruff and one of the Kings on the boards right in front of the Buffalo bench. We can't see who it is, but now they have kind of cooled off. Dave Taylor apparently was mad at Ruff, but he's being restrained by another member of the Buffalo Sabres. Barrasso and Janasek still talking to each other, but they've kind of calmed down now. I don't know if it was Barrasso that was going after Janasek. We mentioned Barrasso. He gets involved. He got involved here last year, his rookie year. He came charging out of his goal crease, and Janasek had to leave his to even the score up.
I think you're right, Nick. The Sabres couldn't believe that Larry Playfair just got pounded down to the ice by Brian McClellan. And then they jumped out to help him, and that was when Playfair was down on the ice. And these fans standing and applauding the Kings. They have come fighting back in the third period in more ways than one.
Literally, they have. We've had, well, let's see, an altercation, Ruskowski and Mike Ramsey, Nichols and Peterson, Miller and Sear, Smith and McKenna, and now Playfair and Brian McClellan. This was the best bout. The heavyweights, the two biggest guys on the ice. Playfair, the biggest guy for the Sabres. Big Mac, the #1 guy size-wise for the Kings, and he really was all over Playfair. And the Sabres, they were in the kind of a middle of a line change. It looked like there were about 8 players out for each team, but the Sabres came to Playfair's aid first. The Kings didn't have to because McClellan was all over Playfair.
You know, we have wondered on more than one occasion, Nick, what would happen if Brian McClellan got upset because he is such a big guy. Well, we just found out. He got upset there, and he took on Larry Playfair, 6'4", 220 pounds. Brian McClellan of the Kings just hammered him right down to the ice, knocked his helmet off, hammered him down. Mac is 6'3", 212. And with 3:53 to go in regulation, we are still tied 4-4, and we're going to get a pile of penalties out of this. The referee, Brian Lewis, is over against the penalty timekeepers bench, conferring with the two linesmen now.
It's the first time. Would you call that a bench? I guess everybody was out there. Bench clearing brawl.
It's hard to tell because all the fans stood up and we're behind the benches, and I couldn't see if players were off the bench or not. Some of them had to be because there were too many out on the ice.
Well, we got the whistle, and along the near boards, it appeared that both clubs were going to make changes. And that's when Playfair and McClellan dropped the gloves. They squared off, didn't get at each other right away, and then they started to throw them. More so McClellan throwing him than Playfair.
Yeah,
Brian McClellan only has 40 penalty minutes in the game and just maybe 1 or 2 fighting majors. But Bob, if he would get mean out there early in a game for a couple of shifts, maybe take a penalty or 2, he would get so much extra room out there to maneuver because people would be scared of him.
Well, he may get some extra room the rest of this game if he ever gets back, if we go into overtime, because I'll tell you, not that I condone the fighting aspect, but it was just beautiful to see the way he hammered on Larry Playfair.
Now look at Tom Barrasso, Barrasso and Foligno are talking to some of the fans who are egging on the Sabres, and Foligno just gave the Italian salute to the crowd. He is Italian. Oh, look at him. He's still motioning. He should get him game misconduct for that. That's uncalled for from a professional athlete. To the crowd.
Jerry Korab, who's not playing tonight, did that once in Philadelphia one night. And the fans now getting all over Foligno. Well, we have quite a night at the Fabulous Forum. Foligno still standing, staring at the crowd.
Well, the crowd probably threw something on the bench. Now he's making obscene gestures. No call for that from a player.
Meanwhile, the referee and the linesman are over trying to figure out all the other penalties.
Now, I wish one of them would come over and see what an idiot Foligno is making of himself.
3:53 to go in regulation. And the game is tied at 4-4.
Well, we know McClellan and Playfair are going to get fighting majors. The goaltenders are going to get 2 minutes for leaving crease during an altercation. Janasek and Barrasso, of course, those penalties will be served by others. Barrasso might wind up with a couple of more minutes for trying to get at one of the Kings.
Well, leaving your crease during an altercation is an automatic 2 minutes right there. And as you say, it's hard to tell. I didn't know if the spare goaltenders were out on the ice or not, and everybody was jamming around, and I thought it was Barrasso and Janasek that got a couple of punches in, but
the way they were talking after they got up on their skates, they were just talking kind of
yeah, like they weren't even mad at each other. And so I'm
like,
not
gosh,
sure.
I'm sorry. So that's why it's hard to believe that Barrasso and Janasek were mad at each other.
At least Janasek kept his helmet and face mask on, and Barrasso had his off.
Barrasso is 6'3", 195, so he's one of the biggest goaltenders in the league. And as we mentioned, he has over 20 minutes in penalties. We'll add to that total here tonight. 19 years old, and you might say he does it all for the Buffalo Sabres.
Still no announcement on the penalties yet. We'll bring them to you from Dennis Packer, the public address announcer, when he makes the announcement. And we now have 3:53 left in regulation.
Well, the puck went in the zone. Offsides is being called by Ron Foyt. And in front of the benches, that's where Playfair and McClellan squared off. So it was away from the play. Whether or not one or the other provoked the other, we'll never know, at least not immediately. But they both dropped the gloves and started hammering away. The captains are over there. And Brian Lewis has assessed the penalties, and now he's explaining them to the two clubs.
To number 27, Larry Playfair, 5 minutes for fighting. Number 30, Tom Barrasso, a 2-minute minor for leaving the crease. 5 minutes for fighting and a game misconduct. Number 17, Mike Foligno, 5 minutes for fighting and a game misconduct. Los Angeles penalties to number 27, Brian McClellan, 5 minutes for fighting. Number 1, Bob Janasek, 2 minutes, a minor for leaving the crease, 5 minutes for fighting, and a game misconduct. Number 3, Gary Galley, a 5-minute for fighting and a game misconduct. Time of the penalties, 16:07.
So everything equals out. The fighting majors, McClellan and Playfair. Fighting majors, Foligno and Galley, along with game misconducts. And the fighting majors to the goalies, Janasek and Barrasso, +2 for leaving the crease and game misconduct. So the reason why we got game misconducts is because that was away from the original fight between McClellan and Playfair. So we get a total of 37 penalty minutes to the Kings and 37 to the Buffalo Sabres. 74 total penalty minutes at 16:07. 7th altercation, 7th set of combat is here in the third period alone tonight.
So with 3:53 to go in the game, brand new goaltenders. You don't get to get any warm-up. Bob Sauvé for the Buffalo Sabres. Darren Elliott for the Kings. And the game tied 4-4. And let's hope we're ready for the face-off to get things started again.
Well, Bob Sauvé in 19 games this year, a record of 10-6-3, a goals against of 3.12. He is the older brother of Jean-Francois Sauvé with the Quebec Nordiques. Darren Elliott in 28 games this year for the Kings, 10 wins, 9 losses, 6 ties, 4.45. And if there's another goal scored tonight, these goaltenders are going to be the goaltenders of record.
All right, Kings with it. Here's Craig Redmond. Fires it down in the Sabres zone. Back behind the net. Sauvé stops it for Dave Fenves. Fenves' pass along the boards. Ruskowski throws a check there. Sabres come out. Ramsey leads it ahead to Sealing. Sealing trying to get around Engblom. Sealing cutting in. Backhander saved by Darren Elliott. Stick saved by Elliott. On the backhander by Sealing. Kings clear it back down into the Sabres zone. 3:25 to go in regulation. Game tied 4-4. Puck is taken by the Sabres. Dave Fenves in deep. He's checked by Ruskowski. Terry took it away for a moment. Now gets help from Hawkinson. Puck drives it into Schoenfeld. He's bumped by Nichols. Schoenfeld's pass up along the boards taken away by Hawkinson. Sabres zone to Ruskowski. Left wing side. Over the right side. Shot by Hardy. Over the net. Deflected by Sauvé, I believe, who came way out. Now the puck taken by the Sabres. Jim Schoenfeld. Hardy got the puck on the right side and got a blast. 2:55 to go in regulation. Here's Taylor with it for the Kings. Taylor sends it into the Sabres zone. It comes around to Housley. His pass behind the net hits the back of the net, and the goaltender Sauvé falls on it and hangs on for the faceoff.
We have been informed that Mike Foligno got a double game misconduct, possibly for his antics to the crowd in front of the bench. So Foligno wraps up 25 minutes at penalties, fighting major in 2 game misconducts. So we get a total of 84 minutes just at 16:07 alone. The breakdown on the shots and saves: 25 shots faced by Janasek, 4 goals, 17 shots faced by Barrasso, 4 goals against. And they each play a total tonight of 56 minutes, 7 seconds.
2:46 to go in regulation. 4-4 tie. Kings with it. A shot shooting from the slot and a save by Barrasso. Kings won the draw to Steve Shutt, and he fired from right in the slot, and Barrasso. Sauvé made the save. Kings had Dion out at center. Shutt had replaced McClellan on that line with Dion and Taylor.
Well, both clubs have to jockey their line combinations, but more so Pat Quinn because of the injury earlier in the game to Jim Fox, and now McClellan off. Foligno, the only forward that is still in the penalty box for the Buffalo Sabres.
Face off again for the Kings. They've got Wells and Hardy back. Face off in the Sabres zone. Here's Hardy over to Wells in the blue line. Wells shoots over the net. Rebound right side taken by Ramsey. His pass up to center. Intercepted by Taylor. Taylor shoots it back down the left wing into the Sabres zone. Behind the net, Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld's pass. Right point held in by Hardy. Hardy's pass broken up. Kings have to get back. Sabres come back now in the middle. Here's Craig Ramsey over the right wing to Brent Peterson. His shot just deflected wide. Rebound intercepted by the Kings. Here's Taylor. Taylor up the right side. He's checked as he comes across the line. Sealing picks it up. Here's Rick Sealing. He comes back in the King zone. He sends it in deep back behind the net. Chased down by Jay Wells. Reverse pass over to Hardy. 2 minutes to go in regulation. 4-4 tie. Here's Hardy to center. Hardy ahead to Doug Smith, but he didn't get it. Came on target. Stop made by Sauvé. He clears it up the center of the left wing to Lindy Ruff. Ruff into the King zone. Ruff shoots, and a save by Darren Elliott. Elliott, the King goaltender, drops it behind the net. Kings with it. Up the left side now. Doug Smith to J.P. Kelly. Up to center ice. Chased down by Smith. Here's Smith into the Sabres zone. And it's poke checked off his stick on the left wing side. Chased down by J.P. Kelly. Kelly wraps it around behind the Sabre net. It gets caught in the back of the net. Kings try to dig it out, and just as they do, the whistle blew. 1:32 left to go in regulation time. The game is tied at 4-4.
Well, the Sabres complaining that the puck got lodged on the back of the net after it was shot in by the Kings, and that would mean a face-off outside the zone. But Brian Lewis obviously ruling that the Sabres touched it or tried to play it, and the face-off will stay deep in the Buffalo zone.
You realize back in Buffalo right now, they're televising and broadcasting this back. It's 20 minutes to 2 in the morning. Face off to the right of the Buffalo Sabre goaltender, Sauve. Puck comes to behind the net, and Nichols chases it down. Nichols with it, around in front. Shot by Hawkinson, and covered up by the Sabres, and falling on the puck deliberately and getting away with it, Dave Maloney.
Well, you know they're not going to call that with 1:23 left in a tie hockey game. That's all there is to it. They never have done it. They never will. John Houseman should say that. They never have done it.
1:23 to go in regulation. 4-4 tie. Hope you're enjoying the broadcast tonight. It has been a wild night at the Fabulous Forum. Kings and the Buffalo Sabres. Gilles Perreault will move in to take the face-off for the Sabres against the Kings. Bernie Nichols in the Sabres zone to the left of goaltender Bob Sauve. And on the draw, Kings with it. Redmond in deep. Redmond centers it in front. Nichols couldn't get to it. Puck taken by John Tucker, the Sabres, and taken away by Nichols. In front to Hawkinson. Couldn't get a shot. Hawk on the right side. He centers it. Broken up. Sabres with it. Cleared out to center. 1:07 left to go in regulation. Kings take it away again. Ruskowski on the left side. Comes across the line. Shoots it in deep. 1 minute to go in regulation. Game tied 4-4. Sabres tip it out to center. It's taken by Craig Redmond. Redmond back in the Kings zone. His pass didn't connect with Nichols. Comes into the Sabres zone. 49 seconds left to go in regulation. Here are the Sabres with it. Schoenfeld to Perreault. Comes back into the Kings zone. Taken away by Wells. Wells to the red line. Wells to the Sabre line. Wells down the right side. He shoots wide to the left side. And the puck comes up out of play.
Jay Wells taking matters into his own hands. Very rarely does he rush the puck up like that offensively, but under a minute to play, he thought maybe he can become a hero tonight. 33 seconds left. I'll say this, since that altercation, the Kings have really had a wide edge in the play territorially.
33 seconds remaining in regulation. If nobody scores, we'll have a 2-minute break, and then sudden death overtime, a 5-minute sudden death. First team to score wins. If neither team scores, the game ends in a tie. 4-4. Third period. Puck is in the Sabre zone against the left wing boards and throws in there. As Mike Ramsey is there, Dion came in and threw a check at Rick Sealing, and a face-off in the Sabre zone again. 24 seconds to go in regulation.
Dion has been with Shutt and Taylor the last few shifts, his left winger in the penalty box. Big Mac, of course, for that fight.
Dion ready on the draw, and the draw won by Brent Peterson of the Sabres to Schoenfeld. He cleared it up to center. Here's Brent Peterson with it for the Sabres. He throws it down the left side. 15 seconds to go in regulation. Back behind the net, Darren Elliott gives it to Jay Wells. Wells to Shutt. Shutt up to center. Kings with it. Here's Dion. 8 seconds to go in regulation. Here's Dion trying to get around Schoenfeld. Left wing. Schoenfeld checks Dion. 2 seconds. We're going to go to overtime. And the regulation is over with the score tied 4-4, and we're going to go to a 5-minute sudden death overtime. So a wild third period. The Sabres get 3 goals in the period. The Kings come from 4-2 down with 2 goals of their own to tie it at 4-4. And that's where we are at the end of regulation.
Well, we'll try and recap the third period. We had 5 goals and just a host of penalties. The goals, 23 seconds. Sealing. That was a long time ago, that goal by Sealing. His 12th from Schoenfeld. The shot by Schoenfeld went wide. Janusek came out to the right of his net, misplayed the puck. It got behind him, and Sealing just tapped it in. That made it 2-2. And with both clubs shy of skater, Mongrain scored off a pass from the left point. Dave Maloney set him up. Mongrain's first in just his second game. That at 2:30, and Buffalo had their first lead. Sear off a draw one by Tucker, spun in the slot, took a shot that beat Janusek up high for his 19th at 3:50. Buffalo led 4-2. Then the Kings came back. At 11:07, Taylor's 36th. So the Kings go to overtime for the 17th time this year. Kings defend to our right, Sabres to our left. We're tied at 4. Next goal, if it's scored, wins it. And once again, Bob.
All right, Nick, thanks very much. Kings still moving right to left. Dion out at center, facing off against Gilles Perreault. Dion wins the draw. Draws it back to Craig Redmond. Redmond to Engblom. Engblom across the red line, drives it into the Sabres zone. Sauvé behind the net, stops it there for Mike Ramsey. He feeds it up on the left side, up to center ice. Sabres Lindy Ruff. He shoots it down to the King zone. A bouncer steered into the corner. Sean McKenna goes for it. He sends it around to Lindy Ruff. King zone, left wing side. Lindy Ruff with it. Ruff's pass right out in front of the net and fallen on by Darren Elliott as he knocked it down with his glove and then fell on it just to the right of the Kings net. So the face-off will be to the right of Darren Elliott. 4:37 to go in sudden death overtime. First team to score will win the game. If neither team scores, it'll end in a 4-4 tie.
140 minutes and penalties tonight. In the third period alone, 54 to the Kings, 64 to the Sabres. Totals for the night, the Kings 64 penalty minutes, the Sabres with 76 penalty minutes. 140 penalty minutes called by referee Brian Lewis. 118 of those in the third period.
Face off to the right of Elliott. Kings with it behind the net. Jay Wells, look out, it comes into the corner. Wells battles for it there. Sabres hold it in. Sabres right side, send it behind the net to Lindy Ruff. Ruff trying to check Wells. Wells picks it up. Jay still has it. Goes behind the King net again. Gives it to Hardy. Hardy to Ruskowski on the left wing. Roscoe bumped there by McKenna. Gets it back to Hardy. Over to Wells in the King zone. Over to Hardy. Hardy up on the left side. He feeds it out of play. It hopped up over the bench. Over the boards into the King bench. 4:12 to go in sudden death overtime. Bob Miller along with Nick Nixon. Kings and the Buffalo Sabres are tied 4-4. Face-off will be just outside the King blue line. And back comes the line of Dion, Taylor, and Shutt up front with Engblom and Redmond back on defense. Dion with 2 goals tonight. Puck taken by the Sabres. Here's Sear to Schoenfeld. Schoenfeld at center. He fires it around the King zone. It comes to Shutt on the left wing. He clears it up to center ice. Taken away by Sealing and an offside against the Sabres. As Sealing brought it back into the King zone. 4:03 to go in the sudden death overtime. Wednesday night, the Hartford Whalers will be here, and there are tickets available at the Forum box office and Ticketmaster. And has this crowd had a great time here tonight?
3 hours and 15 minutes. The game has been underway.
Puck taken at center by the Sabres. Fenves ahead now and fired by Brent Peterson into the King zone. Back behind the King net is Engblom. He plays it hard on the left wing to Shutt. Shutt clears it out to center. Taken away by Schoenfeld. He's hounded by Taylor. Puck comes to Redmond. Over to Taylor with Dion. Taylor to Dion. Sabres zone. Down the left wing. Dion in front to Shutt. Covered up by the goaltender Sauvé before Shutt could get his stick on it. And now the face-off in the Sabres zone.
And out of the penalty box, Larry Playfair and Brian McClellan. And Pat Quinn says, Max, stay out there. Go with Dion and Taylor for the rest of this shift.
So Steve Shutt comes off the ice, replaced by Brian McClellan. Face off to the right of Bob Sauvé in the Sabres zone. 4-4 tie. First goal wins it. Here's Dion on the draw with Brent Peterson. Dion to McClellan. Here's Mack sending it toward the net. Broken up by Schoenfeld. 3:37 to go in the overtime. Ahead to Sealing. Sealing to Brent Peterson. He rolls it off Engblom into the King zone. Engblom chases it down the right side. Passes behind the boards over to Taylor on the right wing. Here's Taylor up to center. Here's Taylor. His pass deflects at the red line. Taken though by Engblom. Ahead now to Dion. Shovels it in the Sabres zone. Taken away there. Fenves sends it up the right side. Craig Ramsey with it into the King zone. Taken away by Engblom. 3:15 to go in sudden death overtime. Here's Engblom to center. Here's Engblom to the red line. Crosses the red line. Shoots it to the blue line of Buffalo, but it hit the goaltender, Ryan Bozak. Or linesman, Ryan Bozak. Now a shot by Mal Davis is wide. Davis with his own rebound. Davis going behind the net. He's checked by Engblom, and Hardy picks it up. He's tripped, no penalty. Hardy hooked or tripped from behind, no penalty. Aren't going to get any here, I'll bet. Puck is cleared up to center, chased into the Sabres zone, and cleared back out to center ice to Mal Davis, taken away at the red line by Phil Sykes. He flips it back into the Buffalo zone. How did I get Ryan Bozak in goal?
Played there in Pee-wees, didn't he?
I hope so. Puck is back behind the Sabre net now. Phil Sykes goes for it. Sykes in the corner with Doug Smith. Trying to get it to Smith. Broken up by Sear. Sear and Smith bump into each other. Puck taken by Dave Maloney. Taken away by Sykes. Poke checked off of his stick. Maloney with it again. He tried to clear it, and he did. Out to center. Take by the Kings. Here's Wells with it. Wells in front of the King bench. Shoots it in. Glove saved by Sauvé. 2:10 to go in overtime. 4-4 tie. Puck taken by Larry Playfair. His pass up to center. Picked up on the right wing by Sean McKenna. McKenna right side cutting in. Poked away by Engblom. McKenna with it again. Right wing side. McKenna backhander. Saved by Elliott. And the net gets knocked off the magnets. Oh, how did he make that save, Nick? He was screened, and the shot came through a tangle of bodies, and Darren Elliott made the save.
Bernie Nichols pushed Phil Housley right into the crossbar, and that's why we got the stoppage. The net came off the magnets, but McKenna, after going wide on Engblom, had Engblom dive to poke it away. McKenna picked it up behind the goal line, then carried it out from the near corner, let a backhander go, and by then a lot of traffic developed in front. Elliott made the save. I don't think he ever saw it. The puck came free and was just sitting outside his goal crease, and fortunately he pounced on it before a Buffalo player.
Face off to the right of Darren Elliott. 1:54 left in sudden death overtime. On the draw, loose puck. Hawkinson for the Kings. He's checked by McKenna. Left side for Mike Ramsey shooting, and it's blocked in front. Deflected wide. Picked up by Ruskowski. 4-4 tie. Roscoe's pass ahead to Nichols off his stick. Poked away by Mike Ramsey. Taken by Craig Redmond at center. His pass broken up. Now it comes back into the Kings zone. Picked up by Bernie Nichols. His pass up to center. Bounces to the Sabre line. Now Gilles Perreault with it. Perreault's pass to the King line. Broken up by Engblom. Ahead to Ruskowski. 1:25 to go in the sudden death. Pass to Nichols. Broken up by Housley. Housley for the Sabres. Housley to the King line. Oh, he is knocked down by Nichols. Flying. Nichols knocked him up in the air and down to the ice. Puck taken by Engblom. He sends it back into the Sabres zone. 1:10 to go in sudden death. Puck is picked up by the Sabres. Sealing down the left wing. Sealing against Redmond. Sealing cutting in deep, and Red pokes it away and takes over behind the net. Who was it broke his stick? Nichols. Puck is picked up now with 1 minute to go in overtime. Here's Dion. He slides it to Engblom to the red line. Engblom to the Sabre line. Engblom across the line. Offside. Kings with 53 seconds to go in overtime.
Bernie Nichols was trying to check Rick Sealing inside the Buffalo blue line, putting some quick pressure on. He broke his stick, and Sealing just bolted down the left wing side, carried the puck all the way deep into the Kings zone, and finally he was ridden off the puck behind the Kings net, and then the Kings came back, but offsides at the Buffalo blue line.
53 seconds left to go in regulation, or in overtime, I should say, and we're now going to get a timeout with 53 seconds remaining in the sudden death overtime. We'll have the post-game show for you. I think we'll dispense, unless the Kings win it, we'll probably dispense with a post-game interview. We have been on the air for quite a long time tonight, and hope you have been with us. Certainly been an exciting night here at the Forum. 53 seconds to go. The Sabres have called a timeout. And we are in sudden death overtime with a score tied 4-4.
Again, if the Kings should tie or win, they will have played the three-game series with Buffalo without losing this year. And that's a credit to the Kings, because Buffalo has the best defensive record in the league. They're fighting for first place in the Adams division. Buffalo, should they tie, will be 2 points behind the Montreal Canadiens, because the Canadiens also tied earlier tonight. They have 79 points. Buffalo would have 77. Quebec Idle 75. So quite a race there in the Adams division.
Face-off outside the Sabre blue line. It'll be Dion against Brent Peterson. 53 seconds remaining in sudden death. First team to score wins it. Here's Dion, ready on the draw. He's got Taylor and McClellan up front with him. Wells and Hardy are back on defense. Sabres have Rick Sealing out. Craig Ramsey's out. Schoenfeld, Mike Ramsey. Brent Peterson will take the face-off. It's just outside the Buffalo Sabre blue line. Dion on the draw, shovels it ahead, comes across the line, throws it down the right wing corner. McClellan and Sealing go for it, and neither of them get it. It's picked up by Craig Ramsey of Buffalo. He comes around behind the net, checked by Taylor. Now Schoenfeld, he's checked there, but he gets it up to Sealing. 40 seconds to go in overtime. Here's Sealing to center, bumped hard by Dion. Dion takes it away, throws it back into the Sabre zone, and if the Sabres get to it, and they do, we have an icing call against the Kings. Dion was on the Kings side of center ice, and he just turned around and fired it into the Sabre zone. Now look out with